Chapter 3621, Life and Death. The battle between Lin Moyu and the giant python continued. The python's attacks were dense and numerous, while Lin Moyu used the time Great Dao to constantly avoid attacks as if teleporting, occasionally launching counterattacks. His counterattacks enraged the python, provoking even more frenzied retaliations. Although the python feared the Great Dao Essence Fire, it also realized that it would take a long time for Lin Moyu's Great Dao Essence Fire to burn it to death. It could completely endure the pain and kill Lin Moyu. Employing the power Great Dao, Lin Moyu appeared evenly matched with the python, but gradually, a trap targeting the python had been laid. A moment later, Lin Moyu shouted, "Explode!" Boom! The death force that had been previously laid down but not activated instantly erupted. Large amounts of death force surged from all directions, drilling into the python's body. The python's body was covered in numerous wounds, all inflicted by Lin Moyu's fists. The python was a soul body, and behind its wounds was not flesh but soul, its soul was its flesh. The outer scales were armor evolved from its Great Dao. Now the armor had been cracked, and large amounts of death force poured in, reaching directly to the soul. As its soul was corroded, the python screamed incessantly, its soul power surging frantically while absorbing massive amounts of Great Dao power, trying to expel the death force. The death force was more difficult to deal with than the world-burning fire, hard to drive out. It wasn't that the world-burning fire wasn't strong enough, just that the current world-burning fire wasn't strong enough yet. The death force grew stronger as Lin Moyu's realm increased, but the world-burning fire did not. The python roared angrily, its huge mouth suddenly inhaling, and numerous giant python illusions appeared in the void. These python illusions frantically absorbed the mist, large amounts of mist were sucked away by it, then the mist was spewed out from its body again. The mist was like water, extinguishing the death force. Lin Moyu was slightly stunned, it can be manipulated like this. He hadn't expected that the mist in the soul void would have such an effect. But clearly, this mist wasn't anything good, otherwise the python wouldn't have waited until now to absorb it. The mist extinguished the death force but not the world-burning fire. However, after fighting until now, the python clearly lacked its previous ferocity. Lin Moyu sensed its intention to retreat and opened his storage space, releasing 100,000 skeleton god generals. The skeleton god generals' combat power was slightly inferior to the python's, but not by much, completely making up for the difference in numbers. The 100,000 skeleton god generals surrounded the python, and endless sword chi engulfed it. The python frantically counterattacked, shattering large numbers of skeleton god generals, but they instantly revived and rejoined the battle, appearing fearless of death and unkillable. The attacks of the skeleton god generals were like scratching an itch, each strike not causing much damage, but added together, the damage became extremely shocking. Soul power continuously scattered from the wounds, flowing like fresh blood. The python's aura grew weaker and weaker. In just a few minutes, the python had been beaten to near death. The python finally realized it was about to die. The instinct for survival made it call out weakly, "Please, spare me." Lin Moyu willed it, and the skeleton god generals stopped. The world-burning fire also weakened considerably. "If you want me to spare you, you should give me a reason, right?" The python said. "What reason do you want?" Lin Moyu said. "It's simple. Accept me as your master, and I'll spare you." The python instinctively cried out, "No way." Lin Moyu chuckled. "Such backbone for a soul body, very good. Then you can just die." The skeleton god generals attacked again, another barrage of sword chi slashing wildly. The python immediately became even weaker, barely clinging to life. Its soul was collapsing. It murmured weakly, "Don't want to die, I still don't want to die." Its eyes slowly closed, seemingly resigned to its fate. At this moment, Lin Moyu flicked out a strand of life force. The life force enveloped the python, and it, which had been on the brink of death, breathed again. The python reopened its eyes, confused. "I'm not dead." Lin Moyu smiled. "You're about to die." With a thought, the world-burning fire blazed fiercely again, once more sending it to the brink of death. Amidst screams, the python lost consciousness, its soul becoming ethereal. At this point, the world-burning fire was withdrawn, and several strands of life force fell on it, forcibly pulling it back from the edge of death. "Wake up." Hearing Lin Moyu's call, the python woke up again. "I'm not dead." Not only was it not dead, but its condition was even slightly better than before. But it clearly remembered that it was about to die. Lin Moyu said, congratulations, you're not dead yet, but you're about to die again. The world-burning fire blazed up again, causing intense soul pain and endless screams. This time, the soul fire burned slowly, simmering on low heat, letting it deeply experience what soul wounds felt like. The screams gradually weakened, its consciousness becoming blurry. This time I'm really going to die, right? In a daze, it saw a ball of white light fly out from Lin Moyu's hand, landing on itself. This hateful fellow, he won't even let me die in peace. The python thought viciously. In the white light, it felt itself recover a bit. The python wondered strangely, is he healing me? Suddenly, the intense pain arose again, and it screamed incessantly once more. This time the python knew that Lin Moyu wasn't healing it at all, but torturing it. Even if it wanted to die, it couldn't. Every time it was about to die, it was forcibly pulled back, then burned again, then pulled back again. The pain continued endlessly, without stop. It wanted to truly die each time, but couldn't die even when it wanted to. The python tried hard to self-destruct, but failed. Under the world-burning fire, its consciousness was difficult to focus, unable to self-destruct. After repeating dozens of times, the python finally broke down. Stop, please stop, I was wrong, I agree, I'll agree to anything. There is great terror between life and death. After experiencing this terror dozens of times, plus the torture of the world-burning fire, the python finally compromised. Lin Moyu chuckled. That's more like it. Hand over your true spirit. The python had no choice but to give its true spirit to Lin Moyu. A spirit flower flew out. Don't resist. Before setting out, he had brought quite a few spirit flowers with him. Spirit flowers were the best choice for healing wounds. Now they came in handy. The spirit flower bloomed, enveloping the python. After entering the Great Tao realm, the effect of the spirit flowers greatly increased, now able to heal injuries of Great Tao realm beings. The healing needed some time. While the spirit flower was healing, Lin Moyu drew a divine rune, using the divine rune to wrap a ball of world-burning fire, then implanted it into the python's true spirit before returning the true spirit to the python. If the python had any ill intentions, he could detonate the divine rune at any time, and the world-burning fire would burn its true spirit to ashes. Once the true spirit was extinguished, it would be impossible for it to live. After repeatedly experiencing life and death dozens of times, the revived python would surely cherish its life. If this were the real world, it wouldn't be so troublesome. He could just kill it and use resurrection of the dead. Unfortunately, this was the soul void. After killing it, besides leaving a trace of soul essence, nothing else would remain. Even using the world-burning fire would only leave behind a soul crystal. Lin Moyu had tried. Whether it was the remaining soul essence or soul crystal, neither could be revived using resurrection of the dead, which was why he had to use this method. The skeleton god generals brought over the barely alive shark. Lin Moyu looked at it with a smile. You saw everything just now, right? I'll ask, and you'll answer. Understand? The shark nodded its head frantically. How could it not understand? ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3622, 3622. Chapter 3622, The King's Dream. Perhaps because the shark valued its life more than the giant python, or perhaps because it had learned from the previous example, the shark was very obedient. Lin Moyu asked. First question, how did you get out? The shark clearly didn't understand Lin Moyu's words very well, its dull eyes showing confusion. What do you mean by, get out? Lin Moyu frowned. The last time we met was very far from here. Weren't you looking for me all this time? How did you find me? The shark said. Far. I don't know. I wandered around, wandered for a long time, and then I sensed your aura. This is my ability. Lin Moyu asked. What ability? The shark answered honestly. It's just that I can sense the approximate location of people I've had contact with, so I was sent by the Force King to find someone's whereabouts. When Lin Moyu heard, Force King, his heart skipped a beat. What does the Force King look like? The shark shook its head. I don't know. We've never seen the Force King's true form, only his avatar. Its soul power moved slightly, sketching out a big face. It was exactly the same big face that had appeared when helping Long Sheng before. The face was like a lion and a tiger, looking very fierce and extremely unique. The shark exclaimed. That's right, that's the Force King. It was indeed him. At that time, a trace of his will and soul had attached to Long Sheng's body, seemingly wanting to find something from Long Sheng, but was thwarted by Lin Moyu. He had said then that he would absolutely not let Lin Moyu off, and it seems that for so many years, he had been sending people to search for Lin Moyu. Currently, Lin Moyu knew nothing about the structure of the soul void, so this matter still needed to be asked about carefully. Under Lin Moyu's questioning, he finally learned more information. The Force King was the king of this area. How strong he actually was, the shark didn't know. The shark's ability wasn't as amazing and powerful as it had said. It could only remember one person's aura at a time. So when it remembered Lin Moyu's, it forgot Examun's aura. Also, the shark didn't know why it had come here. It was somewhat confused about this, and didn't even understand Lin Moyu's question. Perhaps the shark wasn't considered strong in the soul void. Lin Moyu felt he should be able to get more information from the giant python. I've finished my questions, Lin Moyu said calmly. The shark asked weakly, can you let me go now? Lin Moyu said, since I promised you, naturally I won't kill you, but I can't let you go now either. I will seal you, and release you at an appropriate time. The shark trembled, its soul body rolling like waves. Clearly, its emotions were very agitated at this moment, and it was also somewhat afraid. When will you release me? Lin Moyu shook his head. I don't know yet, but it shouldn't be too long. It won't be more than 100 years. Now the shark only had two paths before it. Either be sealed, and wait for Lin Moyu's mood to determine when it would be released. Or be killed on the spot. However, it felt that Lin Moyu probably wouldn't kill it. If he wanted to kill it, it would be too easy. He didn't need to be so complicated, he could kill it right now. The shark closed its eyes, with a resigned look. Go ahead and seal me. Lin Moyu chuckled, then drew several runes, forming a simple version of a formation. This formation wasn't very strong, but as long as the other party didn't resist, it was enough to seal the shark. Most importantly, Lin Moyu had incorporated a trace of world-burning fire into his formation. If the shark tried to break out of the formation, this trace of world-burning fire would be enough to take its life. Finally, Lin Moyu took out the soul-refining furnace and put it inside. Suddenly, an exclamation came from the side, the soul-refining furnace. The giant python had fully recovered under the treatment of the spirit flower. It was staring with eyes full of shock. Lin Moyu turned to look. Come here, explain in detail. Previously, from what the third ancestor and others had said, he had already guessed that the soul-refining furnace was very magical and could refine soul pills. Soul pills could greatly enhance cultivation, and were the best treasure for cultivating the soul. But unexpectedly, native beings of the soul void could recognize the soul-refining furnace, which was very intriguing. The giant python swam over and respectfully replied, in response to Master's question, the soul-refining furnace is a supreme treasure. No one knows where it came from. Later, the soul-refining furnace changed hands many times, falling into the hands of many people, and finally disappeared in this area many years ago. Many powerful kings are searching for it. It's said that whoever can obtain it will have a chance to leave the soul void and enter the real world. Lin Moyu asked in a low voice, why does obtaining it give a chance to leave the soul void? The giant python honestly said, I don't know either. That's what several kings said. Little python doesn't know the specific reasons. Lin Moyu said, then just tell me what you do know. Don't be afraid of saying something wrong. The more detailed, the better. The giant python seemed to have resigned itself to its fate. It became extremely honest, referring to itself as Little Python. As long as Lin Moyu asked, it spoke without holding anything back. It didn't want to endure that kind of pain where it wanted to die but couldn't again. Now it didn't even dare to commit suicide. As soon as it had that thought, the world-burning fire in its true spirit would teach it how to be a python. From then on, the giant python became Little Python, an obedient little python. Through Little Python's explanation, Lin Moyu learned the general process. There were many kings in the soul void. These kings were overlord-level existences in the soul void, and each king had a large number of void beasts under them. What Lin Moyu had previously called native beings of the soul void, they called void beasts. And beings like Lin Moyu, who entered the soul void from the real world, were called outsiders. Those kings all had the same goal, which was to enter the real world. They had reached their limit in the soul void. To advance further, they had to enter the real world to have a chance to continue moving forward. In essence, it was about becoming stronger. Born in such a cruel and monotonous world as the soul void, whether wanting to escape this world or become stronger were very normal thoughts. Lin Moyu could completely understand. After countless years of research and attempts, those kings discovered that there were only two ways to enter the real world. The first way was to find the specific location of the real world. This location wasn't the position where some real-world being was located, but the position where that real world's origin was projected in the soul void. Only in this way could they enter the real world through the origin of that real world. The first method had been successful for several kings before. They successfully left the soul void and entered the real world, achieving great things in the real world. The method was also passed back by them, which was why the other kings believed it without doubt. As for the second method, it was to transcend the soul void oneself, which would also allow entry into the real world. This method had also been successful for a king, but only half successful. It used the soul refining furnace to refine billions of void beasts, allowing its soul to transcend and enter the real world. Why was it said to be only half successful? Because the real world it entered was very strong. It fought with people there and eventually returned heavily injured, soon after its soul scattered. The soul refining furnace it had controlled was also lost from then on. So, both methods were feasible. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3623, 3623. Chapter 3623, Soul Domain, Giant-Faced Lion King. Any king, as long as they're not a fool, would surely pursue both methods rather than just one. They would search for the soul refining furnace while also trying to find the core origin of a certain world. According to Little Python, the soul void was divided into several large areas called Great Soul Domains. Each Great Soul Domain was further divided into hundreds of small soul domains. Each small soul domain had a king, and each king was the overlord of their own small soul domain. There were no clear boundaries between soul domains. The boundaries were very blurry. Sometimes conflicts would erupt between kings. This was very common in the soul void. The small soul domain where Lin Moyu was currently located belonged to the giant-faced Lion King. Lin Moyu thought of that lion-tiger-like big face. That face was indeed not small. Little Python said softly. Many years ago, the giant-faced Lion King suddenly sent out many people to search for someone's whereabouts here, but they never found them. It's said that the giant-faced Lion King was originally close to finding this world's core origin, but later it was disrupted by someone. The giant-faced Lion King was even mocked by other kings. It's said the giant-faced Lion King was very angry and killed quite a few void beasts to vent his anger. Lin Moyu chuckled. The giant-faced Lion King had planted a trace of his soul in Longsheng's body, hoping to find the origin continent's core origin through Longsheng. But unfortunately, the origin continent's situation was special. It had been in a dormant sleep at that time, and the core origin was hidden who knows where, so how could it possibly be found? Even if Lin Moyu hadn't disrupted it, the giant-faced Lion King wouldn't have succeeded. Moreover, even if it had been found, so what? The origin continent wasn't an ordinary weak world, but a powerful independent world. There were many Tao lords inside. If the giant-faced Lion King dared to come out, he would most likely die. Thinking about it this way, it seemed Lin Moyu had actually saved the giant-faced Lion King. Lin Moyu asked, "Can't you sense the world I'm from?" Up to now, Lin Moyu could sense his own soul world and could also sense the location of the origin continent. The world barrier formed by the origin continent in the soul void was actually very obvious. But the shark from earlier, Little Python, and even that giant-faced Lion King all seemed unable to sense it. Little Python said, "We void beasts can't sense the location of worlds. In our perception, the soul void is very chaotic, with turbulent flows everywhere." Little Python explained its perception. The soul void seen from its perspective was completely different from what Lin Moyu saw. In their view, the soul void was full of chaotic mist everywhere, with no world barriers at all. And once the distance was far, they would misjudge distances. It was as if some force in the universe was limiting them. So even though the giant-faced Lion King had planted his soul in Longsheng's body back then, he still couldn't lock onto the origin continent through Longsheng. He could only lock onto Longsheng's soul world, nothing more. This was also why over so many years, only a few kings had been able to find a world's core origin. After a long heart-to-heart talk with Little Python, Lin Moyu developed his own understanding of the soul void. In his mind, the appearance of the soul void had begun to take shape. He didn't believe there was anything in the world that truly couldn't be depicted. No matter how ethereal the soul void was, there were ways to concretize it. The secret realms of the past were like this, the origin ancestral land was like this, and even the current soul void was the same. Lin Moyu had roughly sketched out the embryonic form of the soul void. This embryonic form was still very vague, but he believed that with exploration, the soul void would become more and more complete. However, this exploration would be more difficult than before. He couldn't rely on skeleton god generals and could only rely on himself. He had tried sending out skeleton god generals to explore the soul void earlier, but when the distance became too far, he lost connection with the god generals. The chaotic mist in the soul void would sever the connection between himself and the undead army. This meant that even if he sent out legion commanders to control dragon cavalry legions for exploration, it wouldn't work. Because eventually, he would lose connection even with the legion commanders. Only those legion commanders outside his soul world could still be sensed through the weak connection with his soul world, giving him a general idea of the situation. So to explore the soul void, he could only rely on himself. Lin Moyu guessed that those kings were at least peak first-grade innate soul beings, like Shen Chen whom he had encountered earlier. It was also possible that their strength had reached the level of Dao Lords. Whichever it was, they weren't easy to deal with. He didn't know yet whether it was worth conflicting with them. Lin Moyu made a decision to temporarily stay active around the origin continent and not go too far. When his strength was sufficient in the future, he would expand his range of activity and finally move far away. He drew a circle for himself with the origin continent as the center. This would be his range of activity. Lin Moyu thought to himself, the soul refining furnace can refine void soul pills with souls, and the world burning fire can refine soul crystals. I wonder which effect is better. If I use soul crystals to refine true soul pills, I don't know if it would work. I need to try it to find out. He put away the soul refining furnace and came to Little Python's head. Take me to find some void beasts, with strength below yours. Little Python guessed what Lin Moyu wanted to do. Alright, please hold on tight, master. It resigned itself to its fate and took Lin Moyu to find void beasts. Actually, Lin Moyu could find them himself, but it was easier with Little Python. After all, they were all void beasts, and it had stayed in this soul domain for so many years, so it was more familiar than Lin Moyu. Little Python moved forward in the mist. This mist was called chaotic mist by the void beasts. The chaotic mist was both medicine and poison to them. They could cultivate through the chaotic mist. Refining the chaotic mist could enhance their cultivation. This kind of chaotic mist was medicine. But if they forcibly absorbed large amounts of chaotic mist, the mist would become a violent poison. Earlier, when extinguishing the death force, it had forcibly absorbed a large amount of chaotic mist, which was poison. Afterwards, its strength would drop significantly for a long time. During this period, it would be very weak, and in the soul void, weakness meant danger. However, this kind of injury could be healed by spirit flowers. Now it had fully recovered. In the soul void, there were many void beasts. Little Python soon found one. According to it, there were more void beasts in the giant-faced Lion King's lair. The soul void wasn't completely empty. In many places, the concentration of chaotic mist was extremely high. These places were their feng shui treasure lands, with excellent cultivation effects. And such places were often occupied by a certain king. Most of the void beasts that could live near feng shui treasure lands were the trusted subordinates of that king. Little Python wasn't one, so it couldn't go there and could only slowly cultivate and grow outside. According to Little Python, it didn't know how many years it had survived to grow to its current level. There was no concept of years in the soul void. It had no idea how much time had passed. Little Python found a lizard-like void beast, about 8th grade soul level, which was quickly refined into a soul crystal by Lin Moyu using the world-burning fire. Then they went to find the next one. Lin Moyu began his hunting journey. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3624, 3624. Chapter 3624, one sword, sever the Tao. Outside the origin continent, a group of people appeared in the void. The Yellow Springs Great Tao rolled in, as the Yellow Springs sect mobilized a large force to arrive at the origin continent. Several other Great Taos appeared as well. On the origin continent, flames blazed and cold air spread. Various strange phenomena appeared before everyone's eyes as the Great Taos manifested. Their sudden appearance immediately attracted many people's attention. Whether people from the outer sky Great Tao or those who had already entered the origin Great Tao, all looked over. At a glance, many people were startled. They quickly retreated, not daring to get close. The Yellow Springs Tao sect people have come. Not just the Yellow Springs Tao sect, but also the Earth Fire Tao sect, Nine Abyss Tao sect, Rotting Prison Tao sect, all the people of the Hell Alliance have come. Goodness, looking at these great Taos, the Tao Lords of the Alliance must have come too. The Yellow Springs Tao sect must be here to cause trouble for Lin Moyu, but Lin Moyu has several Tao Lords backing him. Lin Moyu has Tao Lords backing him, but the Hell Alliance also has Tao Lords. Even if branch Tao Lords aren't as powerful as origin Tao Lords, they can at least hold them off for a while. Tao Lords won't fight to the death against each other. That time they hold them off is enough for the Yellow Springs Tao sect to deal with Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu seems to either be in secluded cultivation or has entered the soul void. He's really bold. There was no shortage of clever people, and some had already predicted this. Lin Moyu sat motionless on the ground, his aura barely perceptible. He was either in seclusion or his soul had left. By now, it had been 10 years since he entered the soul void. The Yellow Springs Tao sect had chosen this timing to make their move. In the outer sky Great Tao, a powerful aura suddenly descended. A brilliant Great Tao appeared as the third ancestor manifested in the void. The origin continent has not yet recovered. Is your Hell Alliance seeking death? The third ancestor rode the balanced Great Tao, his origin Tao Lord aura vast as the ocean, causing those who were originally watching to retreat again. At this time, a light laugh sounded from the Hell Alliance. A sharp voice that made everyone's souls ache. Third ancestor, this is a private matter between us and Lin Moyu. You'd better not interfere, or it would be a shame to damage the friendship between us Tao Lords. On the Nine Abyss Great Tao, a black-robed person appeared. Though his aura was not as strong as the third ancestors, it wasn't far behind. Heaven and earth have yin and yang Great Taos. Among the yin Great Taos is the Nine Abyss Great Tao. Though not an origin Great Tao, its power is not weak and is considered top tier among branch Great Taos. The third ancestor said in a low voice, "This Tao Lord said beforehand, whoever moves against Lin Moyu is going against me. This Tao Lord's words must be kept." The Nine Abyss Tao Lord chuckled. "Then let's have a match." He wasn't afraid of the third ancestor at all. Even if he couldn't win, the third ancestor couldn't kill him either. Tao Lords aren't so easily killed. If the third ancestor really tried to kill him, he had ways to drag the third ancestor down with him. He wouldn't let the third ancestor off easily. Before the third ancestor could act, the Nine Abyss Tao Lord made the first move. The two clashed in the void, waves of powerful force rippling out. The void appeared to wrinkle, as if it might shatter at any moment. The space of the outer sky Great Tao was already very sturdy, but still couldn't withstand a battle between Tao Lords. At this time, an old man in yellow robes flew out from the Yellow Springs Tao sect, holding a golden bowl. Yellow water rippled in the golden bowl, emitting a strange smell. This smell instantly spread for 10 million miles. Anyone who smelled it felt their soul grow dizzy and extremely uncomfortable. Not good, it's the Yellow Springs origin corrosive water. Retreat quickly. Someone shouted, and countless Great Tao realm experts retreated like startled birds. The Yellow Springs origin corrosive water could corrode souls. It was the origin of the Yellow Springs Great Tao, extremely vicious and powerful. I didn't expect the Tao Lord of the Yellow Springs Great Tao to personally deal with Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu is likely in great danger. Indeed, the Yellow Springs origin corrosive water, forget about touching it, just smelling it for a long time would make one's soul collapse. Lin Moyu is finished. Space suddenly shook violently as fierce winds arose. The Beast Emperor arrived, treading on storm winds. The Beast Emperor shouted angrily, "Yellow Springs, are you seeking death?" The Yellow Springs Tao Lord glanced at him without speaking. At this time, a coquettish voice sounded, "I say, old beast, you're still so fond of meddling in others' affairs." Suddenly his voice changed, becoming extremely deep. "Then let this Tao Lord meet you and see how much ability you have as an origin Tao Lord." A great Tao faintly appeared. This great Tao looked somewhat gloomy. The Tao Lord appeared neither male nor female, speaking in alternating male and female voices. Someone immediately recognized this as the Tao Lord of the Yin Water Heavenly Tao. This Tao Lord was extremely mysterious, alternating between male and female. The Yin Water Great Tao was also very gloomy and difficult to deal with. He didn't give the Beast Emperor a chance, rushing straight at him and forcing the Beast Emperor to engage. Astute observers could see he was trying to prevent the Beast Emperor from interfering with the Yellow Springs Tao sect. Lin Moyu has 4 Tao Lords behind him. Besides the Beast Emperor and Third Ancestor, there's also the Black Whale Tao Lord of the Giant Whale Clan and Water Great Tao, as well as the Question Heaven Tao Lord of the Purple Lightning Great Tao. These two should be coming too, right? The Question Heaven Tao Lord of the Purple Lightning Great Tao has already come, but couldn't get through. The Withering and Flourishing Elder has entangled him again. The Withering and Flourishing Elder is really troublesome. Though he can't beat a Tao Lord, he can entangle one to the point of frustration. So now only the Black Whale Tao Lord is left. At this time, the Yellow Springs Tao Lord began to invoke the Great Tao Origin. A drop of Yellow Springs Origin corrosive water flew out from the golden bowl, hovering in midair. Lin Moyu's image was reflected on the Origin corrosive water, completing the lock-on. Everyone knew that when this drop of corrosive water fell, Lin Moyu would surely die. However, the Origin continent still had great Tao power protecting it, so the Origin corrosive water couldn't fall. The Yellow Springs Tao Lord shouted, "Clear the way." A person flew out laughing wildly, holding a sharp arrow which he threw fiercely at the Origin continent. Someone exclaimed, "That's the Rotting Prison Tao sect's great Tao supreme treasure, the Rotting Tao arrow." He plans to use this arrow to clear the way, opening a path for the Yellow Springs Origin corrosive water. The Rotting Prison Tao sect and Yellow Springs Tao sect both belong to branches of the Hell Great Tao. The two sects are extremely close, so this is not surprising. The Rotting Tao arrow fell on the Origin continent, blocked by invisible Great Tao power. However, the Rotting Tao arrow quickly corroded the Great Tao power, forcibly opening a path. The path wasn't large, but enough for the Yellow Springs Origin corrosive water to pass through. At this time, waves rippled as the King of the Boundary Sea, the Black Whale Tao Lord of the Water Great Tao, rushed over. Someone from the Earth Tao sect flew out, his entire body wrapped in earth fire, colliding with the King of the Boundary Sea. "You can't get through." The Hell Tao Lord snorted coldly, scattering endless flames that evolved into a sea of fire. Hellfire blazed fiercely, blocking the King of the Boundary Sea outside. The King of the Boundary Sea let out a long roar. One giant whale after another appeared in the void, charging towards the Yellow Springs Tao sect. The Yellow Springs Tao sect also had many people rush out. 100 giant whales engaged in fierce battle. At this time, the Yellow Springs Tao Lord pointed with his finger, and the Origin corrosive water drop fell. The Origin corrosive water followed the path carved by the Rotting Tao arrow, falling towards Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu is finished. Even a Tao Lord would be in trouble if touched by the Origin corrosive water, let alone Lin Moyu. Indeed, there's no saving him now. Suddenly, a woman's shout rang out across the world. "One sword, sever the Tao." ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3625, 3625. Chapter 3625, The Great Tao Laments, a Tao Lord Falls. A woman's shout echoed through heaven and earth. Only the sound was heard, not the person, along with a sharp sword light. The sword light streaked across the sky. The Great Tao power covering the Origin continent retreated before the sword light. The path that the Rotting Tao arrow had to slowly grind open was directly cut open by the sword light. As the sword light passed, countless cracks appeared on the Rotting Tao arrow before it shattered with a boom. After shattering the Rotting Tao arrow, the sword light weakened somewhat but still forcefully struck the Yellow Springs Origin corrosive water. The Yellow Springs Origin corrosive water resisted the sword light for 2 breaths before shattering, its origin power dissipating. However, the sword light also exhausted its power at this moment and disappeared. This sword strike dazzled heaven and earth, shocking everyone. The people of the Rotting Prison Tao sect and the Yellow Springs Tao Lord were stunned. After a few breaths, someone from the Rotting Prison Tao sect suddenly screamed, "This is impossible. The Rotting Tao arrow is a great Tao supreme treasure, how could it be shattered?" Not only did he not believe it, but the Yellow Springs Tao Lord also didn't believe it. The corrosive water containing the origin of the Yellow Springs Great Tao had actually been destroyed just like that. Wow, who was that? They actually severed the rotting Tao arrow. So powerful. The rotting Tao arrow is a great Tao supreme treasure. The rotting prison Tao sect only has 3 of them, and now they've lost one. The rotting prison Tao sect has really suffered a big loss this time. Whether the rotting prison Tao sect loses or not doesn't matter. The key is, who struck that sword? It was too amazing. The Yellow Springs Tao Lord shouted harshly, "Who is it? You dare not show yourself." The void above the origin continent distorted, and then a drop of water slowly appeared. This water seemed to have infinite weight, with the entire space distorting and folding before it. The water contained myriad colors, as if it encompassed all colors in one. Anyone who saw this water felt as if they were seeing a boundless ocean. This drop of water was like the Great Tao, even more terrifying than the Great Tao. Ancestral water essence. It's ancestral water essence. Someone recognized the origin of this water and couldn't help but cry out. The appearance of the ancestral water essence sparked another round of discussion. No one knows where the ancestral water essence comes from. This water is extremely mysterious, generally only appearing within the origin continent, rarely seen in the outer sky Great Tao. Moreover, over the years, this water has appeared only a limited number of times. There are records of only a few hundred appearances. However, ancestral water is not rare and appears often. Various forces all have some. Most crucially, no one knows how to use the ancestral water essence. It seems to be a different thing from ancestral water. Almost no one knew the function of the ancestral water essence. Now its appearance attracted everyone's attention. After hovering for over 10 breaths, the ancestral water essence slowly dispersed. In an instant, waves rippled across the sky above the origin continent. The ancestral water sea turned into an ocean, rapidly spreading to almost completely envelop the origin continent. Then, from within the Great Sea, Great Taos emerged one after another. There are myriad Great Taos in the world, and now they all appeared. The space above the origin continent had become a sea of Great Taos. The several Tao lords who were fighting all stopped to look. When they saw the sea of Great Taos, they were stunned. In the sea of Great Taos, they saw their own Great Taos. But the next moment, they all changed color. What they saw were not their own Great Taos, but Great Taos identical to their own. The Great Taos in the sea did not belong to them, but to another Tao Lord. One sword, sever the Tao. The same woman's shout rang out, and sword light flashed again. In the sea of Great Taos, on the myriad Great Taos, hazy figures appeared. These hazy figures emitted terrifying auras. The auras were vast, sweeping across heaven and earth. The Great Tao power in the origin continent was completely dispersed. Each figure was a Tao Lord. Now, myriad Tao Lords appeared simultaneously. All the figures raised their swords at the same time. In an instant, countless sword lights carrying myriad Great Taos burst out of the origin continent, rushing towards the Yellow Springs Tao Lord. The Yellow Springs Tao Lord's face changed drastically. He instinctively wanted to retreat, but his feet seemed rooted to the ground, unable to move an inch. Vast Great Tao power locked onto him. His face changed drastically as the Yellow Springs Great Tao surged. He turned over the golden bowl in his hand, and the Yellow Springs corrosive water inside dripped out, turning into a golden shield to protect him. The myriad sword lights crashed into the shield, shattering it with a boom. No, the Yellow Springs Tao Lord screamed in terror, engulfed by the sword lights amidst his screams. The Yellow Springs Great Tao shattered. After the sword lights passed, the Yellow Springs Tao Lord had vanished. Then the outer sky Great Tao shook violently. A lament that only souls could hear rang out. Everyone felt an inexplicable sadness. This sadness from the soul was hard to control. Many people had tears in their eyes, feeling like they wanted to cry out loud. The Great Tao laments. A Tao Lord has fallen. Could it be that with that sword strike just now, the Yellow Springs Tao Lord fell just like that? Heavens, killing a Tao Lord with one sword. Is that even human? The key is, we didn't even see who struck. The Yellow Springs Tao Lord just died like that. Everyone felt a chill in their hearts. The Yellow Springs Tao Lord had died, but the one who did it hadn't even shown their face. The third ancestor narrowed his eyes. He couldn't figure it out either and said loudly, "The Yellow Springs Tao Lord is dead." Everyone, don't push your luck. The several Tao Lords from the Hell Alliance gathered together. The 9 Abyss Tao Lord said loudly, Though the Yellow Springs Tao Lord has died, this matter is no longer just the affair of the Yellow Springs Tao sect, but of our entire Hell Alliance. We will certainly investigate this matter. Today's battle ends here. After saying this, the several Tao Lords of the Hell Alliance turned and left. The disciples of the Yellow Springs Tao sect didn't dare to linger and fled in disarray. Though it wasn't quite fleeing, it was close. This time their losses were too great. Even their own Tao Lord had fallen. One can imagine that the Yellow Springs Tao sect's status would surely plummet in the future. As for the harsh words left by those Tao Lords of the Hell Alliance, people just listened without taking them seriously. A dead genius is no longer a genius. Similarly, no one would care about a fallen Tao Lord. The outer sky Great Tao returned to calm once again. In the origin continent, the sea of great Taos evolved from the ancestral water essence gradually dispersed. The great Tao power of the origin continent once again enveloped heaven and earth, continuing to isolate the origin continent from the outer sky Great Tao. The origin continent had not fully recovered yet. Great Tao realm experts above the 9th grade still could not enter. Especially after this incident, the recovery speed of the origin continent would slow down considerably. In the outer sky Great Tao, the third ancestor, Beast Emperor, and King of the Boundary Sea gathered together. Besides these three, there was also the Question Heaven Tao Lord. In the recent battle, the four could be considered comrades who fought side by side. Although the Question Heaven Tao Lord was only the Tao Lord of a branch Great Tao, he was still a Tao Lord. On the surface, they were all Tao Lords and treated each other politely. The third ancestor took out a tea table and brewed tea to chat in the void, looking very leisurely. The Beast Emperor drank tea and said softly, "So the ancestral water essence had this kind of use. It's really the first time I've seen it." The King of the Boundary Sea said, "The one behind Brother Lin is truly unfathomable." The third ancestor chuckled, with some mystery, "Do you know who acted just now?" The Beast Emperor and the other two shook their heads, indicating they didn't know. The Beast Emperor said, "Old three, if you know, just say it. Don't speak in riddles." The third ancestor said softly, "Lin Moyu has an elder sister named Lin Mohan." The Beast Emperor said, "I know this. Brother Lin has mentioned it before." The third ancestor continued, "But I rarely hear news of Lin Mohan. Do you know why? ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3626, 3626. Chapter 3626, The Disappointing Void Soul Pill. The third ancestor's words were surprising. The Beast Emperor murmured, "Your influence, both overt and covert, spans the entire origin continent. If even you don't have news of Lin Mohan, could it be that she's not in the origin continent?" The third ancestor smiled and said, "That's right. Lin Mohan is often not in the origin continent, so I rarely get news of her." The King of the Boundary Sea said softly, "So you're saying, Lin Mohan also has a connection to that person?" The third ancestor said, "It's almost certain. Haven't we always not known where the ancestral water essence comes from? Now we can make a bold guess that the ancestral water and ancestral water essence should also be that person's things." The Beast Emperor said, "But why would that person do this?" The third ancestor shook his head, "How can we know what such an existence thinks? But we only need to remember one thing, that person values the Lin kid. If we protect Lin Moyu, we'll surely benefit in the future. If you all want to compete for the Great Tao, I suggest waiting a bit longer. After all, we've already waited so many years, what's another 1,000 or 10,000 years? At Lin Moyu's cultivation speed, I estimate that in 1,000 years, he won't be much weaker than us, at least he'll have the power to protect himself. When that time comes, we can go compete for the Great Tao with more peace of mind." The King of the Boundary Sea said softly, "You're afraid that if something happens to Brother Lin, that person will take it out on us, right?" The third ancestor said, "You're underestimating this Tao Lord too much. I'm afraid that person will take it out on the origin continent. If he acts, it would be far more terrifying than the origin catastrophe." Everyone felt the third ancestor's words were correct. If that person really took his anger out on the origin continent would have no chance of survival. The Question Heaven Tao Lord listened to them talk without interrupting. He clearly understood his position and should listen more and speak less. Only when the others had finished talking did the Question Heaven Tao Lord speak. When I first met friend Lin, I thought he might be the reincarnation of the Lord of Hell, but now that seems unlikely. The third ancestor shook his head. It's probably not Lin Moyu's techniques, but he's definitely not the reincarnation of the Lord of Hell. The Lord of Hell was strong back then, but not to this extent. With Lin Moyu's dominance, I'm afraid that by the time he reaches 3rd grade or 2nd grade innate soul, even we might not necessarily be his match. The Beast Emperor laughed. I agree with this point. Lin Moyu's combat power can't be judged by realm. Just his great Dao divine ability is somewhat abnormal. After chatting, the Question Heaven Dao Lord decided to stay guard outside the origin continent to prevent further incidents. In the Soul Void, Lin Moyu rode on Little Python, finding one void beast after another. Some void beasts were on par with Little Python in strength. Lin Moyu had to exert some effort to kill them, but with Little Python's help, it became much easier. Gradually, the soul crystals in Lin Moyu's hand increased. He didn't know how long he had been killing until the soul crystals in his hand exceeded 1,000 before he stopped. He took out the 1,000 soul crystals and began arranging them. Little Python watched with glowing eyes. Lin Moyu said, "You want some?" Little Python answered honestly, "I do." We void beasts devouring each other can also be used to increase strength, but the effect isn't great, not much faster than refining and absorbing chaotic mist. And it's dangerous. But the soul crystals in Master's hand have already been refined. The soul power inside is very pure, so they're treasures to us. Its eyes were shining, with soul power dripping like saliva from the corners of its mouth. Lin Moyu casually tossed it one. Little Python happily ate it in one bite and began refining it joyfully. The 1,000 soul crystals varied in size, but in Lin Moyu's eyes, there wasn't much difference. After being refined by the world-burning fire, these soul crystals only differed in the amount of soul power they contained. Their essence was the same. The essence was the purity of the soul power. With this being the same, they could be considered on the same level, only differing in quantity. It was like gold. A 10-pound piece of gold and 10 1-pound pieces of gold are essentially the same. Sensing the aura emanating from the soul crystals, Lin Moyu discovered that the strength difference between soul crystals was surprisingly similar to origin crystals. The difference between each level was basically a ratio of 1 to 10. 10 soul crystals from 9th grade void beasts were equivalent to 1 soul crystal from an 8th grade void beast, with almost no difference. And 10 soul crystals from 8th grade void beasts were equivalent to 1 soul crystal from a 7th grade void beast. The most numerous in his hand now were soul crystals from 9th grade void beasts. Each soul crystal contained the essence of a great Dao realm void beast. For any great Dao realm being, these were rare treasures. When ordinary great Dao realm experts entered the soul void to slaughter and refine spirit beasts, the benefits they ultimately gained were far less than soul crystals, with a ratio of more than 10 to 1. If these soul crystals were taken out, they could be exchanged for many good things from great Dao realm experts. Now that I have soul crystals, I can try it out. Thinking this, Lin Moyu began to absorb the soul crystals. He first absorbed 10 9th grade soul crystals. Absorbing 10 at once wasn't difficult for someone of Lin Moyu's realm. It could only be said that doing so was somewhat extravagant. Lin Moyu didn't care about this and absorbed them first. The soul crystals refined by the world-burning fire no longer had impurities and didn't need to be refined a second time. They could be directly absorbed. Lin Moyu's soul began to slowly strengthen. His aura became increasingly heavy. His soul level, which had stagnated since entering the Great Dao realm, began to advance again. A moment later, Lin Moyu had completely absorbed the 10 9th grade soul crystals, leaving not even a trace behind. His soul level had improved, but not by much. This was because the level of the soul crystals wasn't high enough. His soul had improved a little bit. It was originally at the early stage of 7th grade, and now it had taken a small step forward, still at the early stage of 7th grade. To reach the middle stage of 7th grade, he would need to take about 100 such small steps. In other words, 1,000 9th grade soul crystals could allow him to advance to the middle stage of 7th grade. Lin Moyu clearly felt the changes in his realm. Then he took out the soul refining furnace. He first took out the sealed shark, then threw 10 9th grade soul crystals into it. He activated the furnace and began refining a void soul pill. Lin Moyu was only refining a first-grade void soul pill. This was enough to see the results. In his view, second-grade and third-grade pills were just exchanging quantity for quality, turning lower-quality things into higher-quality things. Like turning silver into gold. As for the effect, that remained to be seen. Lin Moyu used his soul power to activate the soul refining furnace. The 10 soul crystals quickly melted in the furnace and began to condense into a pill. After just half a day, a round, transparent void soul pill was produced. The soul refining furnace was very convenient to use. Even though Lin Moyu didn't know how to refine pills, he could easily control it. It just required using a bit more soul power. Then he absorbed this void soul pill and began cultivating. His soul level rose again. Soon, Lin Moyu opened his eyes, showing disappointment. The effect of the void soul pill wasn't as good as legend said. It wasn't even as good as directly absorbing soul crystals. The effect of the void soul pill is only about 70% of 10 soul crystals. There must be some loss in the process of refining crystals into pills. It seems I'm better off directly absorbing soul crystals. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3627, 3627. Chapter 3627, avoid it for now. Lin Moyu tried a few more times. He used 109th grade soul crystals to refine a 2nd grade void soul pill. Then he absorbed 109th grade soul crystals himself for comparison, and found that the effect of the 2nd grade void soul pill was still only about 75% of directly absorbing soul crystals, slightly better than the 1st grade pill. In other words, spending time and effort to refine void soul pills was simply a losing business. After some thought, Lin Moyu finally understood the relationship. For others, the soul refining furnace was indeed a supreme treasure. When ordinary Great Tao realm experts hunted void beasts in the soul void, directly absorbing and refining them required removing a lot of impurities, which was very inefficient. The amount of soul power they could absorb was also very little. At that time, if they had a soul refining furnace to refine void soul pills, it could greatly reduce waste and significantly improve efficiency. Especially 2nd grade and 3rd grade void soul pills would have even better effects. Because the soul refining furnace had the ability to purify souls and remove impurities. The soul refining furnace was indeed a good thing, but when faced with the world-burning fire, it seemed somewhat inadequate. Soul crystals burned out by the world-burning fire had already removed all impurities, leaving only the purest soul power. Refining such soul crystals again was simply redundant, not only providing no benefit but also wasting some soul power. This also led to void soul pills being less effective than soul crystals. Fortunately, Lin Moyu hadn't had high hopes for the soul refining furnace to begin with, so his disappointment wasn't great. He had already proven that the world-burning fire was the most powerful, and everything else had to step aside. While Great Tao realm experts and void beasts sought the soul refining furnace in vain, he had something even better than the soul refining furnace. He stuffed the shark back into the soul refining furnace and put it away. From now on, this thing could be relegated to cold storage, as he would rarely use it. However, it couldn't be said to be useless. In the real world, it could refine true soul pills. Although the method was somewhat cruel, it depended on who it was used against. If it was against enemies, Lin Moyu wouldn't hesitate. If one day he invaded the Black Blood realm and God realm, he would gladly use the soul refining furnace. Opening his eyes, he saw little Python staring at him eagerly, its eyes clearer and brighter than ever before. Lin Moyu knew exactly what it was thinking, it just wanted some food. With a wave of his hand, a 6th grade soul crystal flew over. Little Python swallowed it excitedly in one gulp and shouted, "Thank you, Master. Master is so good, little Python will definitely be obedient and do whatever Master says." It flattered him, then rolled to the side to refine and absorb. Lin Moyu was always generous to his own people, and he would need its labor and effort later. If you want the horse to run, you naturally have to let the horse eat its fill. Knowing the actual function of the soul refining furnace, Lin Moyu could confidently absorb and refine soul crystals. His soul level began to rise rapidly, step by step. In the soul void, chaotic mist constantly rolled. Although called a small soul domain, its range was actually extremely large. By Lin Moyu's estimation, the range of this small soul domain might be larger than the entire origin continent. The origin continent he referred to meant the entire origin continent world, including the outer sky Great Tao. He didn't know how big the outer sky Great Tao was, but he just had this feeling. After all, the world of the origin continent was within this small soul domain. After absorbing enough soul crystals, his soul level easily broke through the barrier and entered the middle stage of 7th grade. By now, most of the soul crystals had been absorbed. Even if he absorbed the rest, it was unlikely he could reach the late stage of 7th grade. Cultivation in the Great Tao realm wasn't easy. For any Great Tao realm expert to advance a step took tens of thousands of years. Lin Moyu's rate of improvement would be enough to astonish any Great Tao realm expert. But for Lin Moyu, this speed was only ordinary, definitely not fast. Lin Moyu thought to himself, it seems I still need to continue killing, and kill higher level void beasts. Only then can efficiency be improved. In the center of the small soul domain, a huge figure flickered in and out of view in the chaotic mist. The giant-faced Lion King's deep, resonant voice penetrated the mist. I sense the aura of the soul refining furnace in that direction. Go search, and if you find anything, report back immediately. A flame pierced through the mist, flying towards the distance. In an instant, the chaotic mist churned as many powerful void beasts charged into the chaotic mist along the direction of the flame. The giant-faced Lion King murmured to himself, the soul refining furnace has finally appeared again. This time I will certainly obtain you. Once I transcend the soul void and enter the real world, I will definitely find that brat from back then and tear him to pieces. He still remembered what Lin Moyu had done years ago, cutting off his path to transcendence. This deep hatred would never be forgotten. Unfortunately, after searching for so many years, he still hadn't found Lin Moyu. He also knew that searching in the soul void was like looking for a needle in a haystack, so he could only give up. But this grudge wouldn't be forgotten. He remembered Lin Moyu's aura and would find him sooner or later. Lin Moyu had completely absorbed all the soul crystals he had accumulated during this time. His soul level had already advanced far into the middle stage of 7th grade and would soon reach the late stage of 7th grade. If he could have another wave like this, there was a 90% chance he could step into the 6th grade innate soul level. In Lin Moyu's view, this cultivation speed wasn't fast, just normal. If others knew about this thought, they would probably rush over to bite Lin Moyu to death. Master, wake up quickly. Hearing Little Python's voice, there seemed to be some panic in its tone. Opening his eyes, he saw Little Python staring at him intently, with a hint of panic in its gaze. Lin Moyu asked, "What's wrong?" Little Python said, "Master, did you use the soul refining furnace just now?" Lin Moyu made a sound of agreement. "Yes, is there a problem?" Little Python said, "Something's wrong. Because you used the soul refining furnace, several nearby kings have sensed it. They must have already ordered their subordinate void beasts to come here and search." Lin Moyu frowned slightly. How could they sense it? Why didn't you say anything earlier? He had taken out the soul refining furnace before, and Little Python hadn't said anything. Why was it saying this now? Little Python said, "I just remembered. The soul refining furnace used to be a treasure fought over by many kings. Although it disappeared later, they all left marks on it. As long as someone uses the soul refining furnace in the soul void, they can sense it and come to snatch it." Lin Moyu took out the soul refining furnace and examined it carefully but didn't find any marks on it. It could only be said that these kings' realms were far above his own, and he couldn't see through their methods. Lin Moyu asked, "The closest one should be the giant-faced Lion King. How strong are its subordinates?" Little Python said, "They're basically all 2nd grade void beasts, very powerful. They could kill me easily." Lin Moyu asked curiously, "Are there no 1st grade void beasts?" Little Python said, "No, 1st grade void beasts have either gone far away or hidden. In any case, there are no 1st grade void beasts among the subordinates of any king. 1st grade void beasts were beings that could potentially challenge for the king position. These kings would definitely guard against 1st grade void beasts to prevent them from betraying, and the best method was to eat the 1st grade void beasts. So 1st grade void beasts in the soul void were either dead or had fled." Lin Moyu said softly, "If that's the case, then let's go too. Let's avoid them for now. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3628, 3628. Chapter 3628, a very large gourd. Many powerful void beasts were rushing here, so Lin Moyu naturally chose to move away. He wasn't a fool. Although his strength was considerable, staying in this situation would be tantamount to seeking death. However, Lin Moyu didn't leave directly. He chose a place nearby where the mist was thicker and drew several divine runes. In the soul void, divine runes were not affected, and formations could still be used, with even stronger effects than in the origin continent. This indicated that the formation Great Tao had projected into the origin land, thus radiating throughout the entire soul void. Lin Moyu moved extremely quickly. In just a moment, a formation had taken shape. The moment the formation formed, the chaotic mist around it rapidly became denser. It wasn't that the chaotic mist had actually increased, but that the formation itself was releasing more mist. Of course, the mist released by the formation was not the same as the chaotic mist, though it looked somewhat similar. The two different types of mist mixed together, making it difficult to distinguish without careful observation. At the same time, the formation was also absorbing mist from afar, making the mist in this area even thicker. Even void beasts native to the soul void couldn't see clearly. This was a maze formation that could confuse the souls of beings entering it, making them lose their sense of direction and thus serving to trap enemies to some extent. In the center of the formation, Lin Moyu took out the soul refining furnace and casually activated it, while drawing a divine rune. The divine rune copied the shape and aura of the soul refining furnace, quickly turning into an illusory soul refining furnace that remained in the center of the formation. After doing all this, Lin Moyu finally left. Little Python had now completely sided with Lin Moyu and said with a hint of flattery, "Master, are you doing this to make them fight among themselves?" Lin Moyu smiled. "It's purely an experiment to see how those fellows will react." Little Python said, "There's a 90% chance they'll start fighting. I just received news that at least 3 kings' forces are rushing over. The closest is the giant-faced Lion King, and the Soul Heart King and Grass Soul King from the 2 nearby small soul domains are also sending their forces this way." Lin Moyu said, "It seems that back then, many people left soul marks on it to compete for the soul refining furnace." Little Python nodded vigorously, "A great many. Back then, Little Python only dared to watch from afar and didn't dare to get close. At that time, at least several hundred kings fought, turning the entire Great Soul domain upside down. If the Golden Furnace Emperor hadn't stopped it later, they might have kept fighting. The Soul Void has 9 Great Soul domains, and each Great Soul domain contains several small soul domains. The small soul domain ruled by the giant-faced Lion King belongs to the Golden Furnace Great Soul domain, whose ruler is called the Golden Furnace Emperor. There are 9 Great Soul domains and 9 emperors, who are the supreme existences in the Soul Void." Lin Moyu asked, "Didn't the Golden Furnace Emperor take away the soul refining furnace?" Little Python shook its head. "I don't know about that. Transcending the soul void was too tempting. Not only did several small soul domain kings want to compete for it, but wouldn't the Golden Furnace Emperor also be tempted?" Lin Moyu was somewhat puzzled. Little Python led Lin Moyu through the chaotic mist, flying farther and farther. Lin Moyu used the undead eye to guide Little Python, and along the way, he saw some soul flames rushing over. Each soul flame was very powerful, with quite a few 2nd grade and 3rd grade souls. Under Lin Moyu's instructions, Little Python avoided these powerful incoming void beasts. Those void beasts were clearly heading to the same place, where the soul refining furnace had been used earlier. Lin Moyu was slightly worried. That place is very close to the origin continent. If void beasts fight there, I hope it won't affect the origin continent. It should be fine. Even when those kings fought so fiercely back then, the real world didn't seem to be affected. There was an extremely strong barrier between the soul void and the real world, as if they weren't in the same space-time. Unless one could precisely locate it, there wouldn't be much influence between them. Little Python suddenly asked, "Master, what is the real world like?" Lin Moyu chuckled. "The real world is much more colorful and diverse compared to the soul void. Just describing it in words, you wouldn't understand. If you perform well, in the future, I'll find a way to take you to the real world." Little Python's eyes lit up, suddenly excited. Really? All void beasts had an instinctive longing for the real world. Whether strong or weak, they all wanted to go to the real world. This feeling was strange, almost rooted in the deep consciousness of every void beast. Even without intelligence, their instincts would drive them to seek opportunities to enter the real world. Everything has a cause. There must be a root cause for this to be so. Lin Moyu liked to trace things to their source. He felt that if he could solve this mystery, he might be able to fully understand the essence of the soul void. Lin Moyu asked, "Little Python, how are you void beasts born?" Little Python shook its head. "I'm not very clear. From the moment I became conscious, I was already in the soul void. Then I instinctively absorbed and refined the chaotic mist. As for the method of refining and absorbing, it seemed I naturally knew how. I just floated in the soul void, not knowing how long I floated. As I absorbed and refined more and more chaotic mist, I became stronger and stronger until I developed intelligence and began to think. At that time, I was already in the Soul Heart King's domain. Later, I came to the giant-faced Lion King's domain and haven't left since." Little Python briefly recounted its simple life. The years of its existence were incalculable, probably already many years, as time was difficult to measure in the soul void. Lin Moyu said, "Haven't you ever thought about joining the ranks of a king?" Little Python shook its head. No joining. Little Python may not be smart, but it's not stupid. Joining might have many benefits, but if not careful, one could lose one's life. I once had a friend who became a subordinate of the Soul Heart King. Later, when the Soul Heart King got into a conflict with another king, my friend was killed. Also, among the subordinates of those kings, there are no first-grade void beasts. As soon as one becomes a first-grade void beast, they would definitely be eaten." Lin Moyu smiled. "It seems you value your life a lot. Earlier, you had a resigned to fate attitude, which wasn't like this." Little Python said, "Freedom or death? Compared to death, not having freedom is more terrifying. If it weren't for Master's methods being too." It didn't dare to continue, but the meaning was clear. That kind of suffering where one can neither live nor die, Little Python didn't want to experience again. Compared to that, if there was no freedom, so be it. Little Python indicated it could adapt. Lin Moyu asked, "So you've lost all your earliest memories?" Little Python shook its head. "They're gone. My memories start from when I awakened intelligence. Before that, there are only some vague fragments." Lin Moyu asked, "Tell me about those vague fragments." Little Python said, "In my memory, there seems to be a small river, a lake, and a very, very large gourd." Lin Moyu's mind suddenly shook. "What kind of gourd?" Little Python shook its head. "I don't remember clearly, just that it was a very large gourd." Lin Moyu continued to ask, "Were there many holes on the gourd?" Little Python tried hard to recall. "There seem to be holes, but I'm not sure." ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3629, 3629. Chapter 3629, Order in Chaos. Lin Moyu's mind was shaken. The lake, gourd, and what he saw when stepping into the other shore were the same. Although Little Python couldn't remember clearly, Lin Moyu had reason to suspect that the gourd he saw back then might be the one in Little Python's memory. Lin Moyu continued to ask, "Can you think of any more information?" Little Python tilted its head and thought, "I really can't think of anything else, but I know someone who might know." Lin Moyu asked, "Who is it?" Little Python said, "It's called the discernment beast. It has a special ability to hear many sounds that others can't hear. But even it doesn't know the source of this information, it just hears things. So among us void beasts, it knows the most." Lin Moyu said, "Such a void beast must be coveted by many powerful void beasts, right?" Little Python said, "Definitely. Several kings wanted to bring it under their control and have it serve them. But those kings were killed by the Golden Furnace Emperor. After that, no one dared to have designs on it anymore. Even if those kings want to know something, they can only go and beg to ask." Lin Moyu had originally thought the Soul Void was a chaotic world without rules, but unexpectedly it had its own order. Indeed, order exists everywhere. No place is truly chaotic. What outsiders consider chaos is simply because they haven't seen the internal operating principles. Just like the chaotic tangle of great Tao powers, clues can still be found. Lin Moyu asked, "Then how can we find the discernment beast?" Little Python said, "I heard it's at Golden Furnace Island, in a place called Dragon Lake Small Soul Domain. It's a very long and dangerous journey from here." Lin Moyu smiled. "You brought it up, but now you're afraid to go." Little Python said, "Little Python doesn't want to deceive Master, but it really is dangerous. There are many dangerous secret places in the Soul Void, but where there's chaotic mist, the dangerous secret places are fewer. Between small soul domains, there's a vacuum zone. In the vacuum zone, dangerous secret places increase. Once you fall into a dangerous secret place, if you don't die, you'll at least be badly hurt. Lin Moyu was amused by Little Python. Do you even have skin? Little Python said, it's just a saying. Master, don't mind these details. Those places are really dangerous. Like this time, some of the void beasts coming from other small soul domains will definitely fall into secret places and either die or be injured. Lin Moyu asked, if it's so dangerous, won't they disobey orders? Little Python said, some void beasts will disobey, but most won't. However, they'll also drive some weaker void beasts to go in front, while they follow from behind at a distance. Letting cannon fodder charge ahead while following from behind, it really was big fish eating small fish eating shrimp, a chain of predation. Being a weak void beast wasn't easy either. 6th grade void beasts like Little Python, neither strong nor weak but fast enough, would most likely be used as cannon fodder. Regarding some of the dangers in the soul void, void beasts called them dangerous secret places. This was a general term, as there were many types of dangers, all originating from the Great Tao. When chaotic Great Taos intertwined and sometimes collided, various dangers would form. But in the eyes of void beasts, there was almost no distinction between these dangers. This was the difference between real beings and void beasts. Void beasts couldn't see the real world, they could only see the soul world. They also couldn't see the tangled mess of Great Taos, let alone distinguish the types of dangerous secret places. They only knew those places were dangerous. Void beasts weren't truly flesh and blood beings. They were very special, with most of their abilities coming from instinct. So it wasn't hard to understand why these void beasts wanted to transcend and become real beings. Unfortunately, very few void beasts could actually transcend. Little Python stopped in the void. They were now very far from the formation Lin Moyu had set up. Lin Moyu rotated a skeleton god general in the center of the formation. This was the limit of distance between him and the skeleton god general. Any further and he wouldn't be able to sense it. Through the skeleton god general's vision, he looked around. More and more soul flames were surrounding them from all directions. Many void beasts were rushing towards the soul refining furnace. They hadn't discovered the existence of the formation and rushed headlong into the mist. Nothing could be seen in the mist, yet they could vaguely see the soul refining furnace. The soul refining furnace seemed to have become a guiding light for these void beasts, making them chase after it frantically. Then, soul after soul collided and started fighting. In the mist, the void beasts couldn't see clearly who was who, so they could only strike first and ask questions later. The first batch to arrive was the giant-faced Lion King's forces. Soon after, the Soul Heart King's and Grass Soul King's forces arrived one after another. The three forces quickly began a melee. Void beasts had intelligence, but for most, instinct was stronger. Usually it was fine, but once fighting started, their instincts often dominated their actions. This was one of the weaknesses of void beasts. Seeing the three groups of void beasts fighting in a mess, Lin Moyu willed it, and the skeleton god general immediately shattered and disappeared. Fight on, the messier the better. Lin Moyu's lips curled slightly as he said to Little Python, let's go to the Soul Heart Soul domain to find void beasts. Little Python asked curiously, Master, aren't you going to find the discernment beast? Lin Moyu said, no rush. Let's increase our strength first. We'll go when we have enough power. The giant-faced Lion King's domain was no longer peaceful. Lin Moyu planned to move to the Soul Heart King's domain to hunt there. Little Python had lived in the Soul Heart Beast domain for a long time initially and was very familiar with it. Receiving Lin Moyu's order, Little Python didn't hesitate and immediately flew towards the Soul Heart King's territory. Although crossing domains was dangerous, Little Python thought it was worth it. Following Lin Moyu meant there was meat to eat. He had already tasted the sweetness. The soul crystals Lin Moyu gave were good things. In his view, they were no worse than the pills from the soul refining furnace. Moreover, the soul refining furnace was also in Lin Moyu's hands. As long as he stuck close to Lin Moyu, maybe one day he could transcend. Lin Moyu had also promised to find a way for him to transcend the soul void and enter the real world, becoming a real living being. Little Python led Lin Moyu, shuttling along the way. They also encountered several not too strong void beasts, which Lin Moyu easily dealt with. Under the world-burning fire, several more soul crystals were added. After flying through the mist for an unknown time, the view ahead suddenly cleared. Master, the vacuum zone is ahead. Little Python stopped and pointed forward. A purely black space appeared in view. There was nothing in this space, just as Little Python had said, it was a vacuum zone. Such vacuum zones were not unfamiliar to Lin Moyu. In the great world, there were plenty of such areas. And it wasn't really a true vacuum zone. Great Tao powers were still intertwining here, and even more fiercely. Looking at the so-called vacuum zone, Lin Moyu had a realization, this isn't a vacuum zone. Little Python made a sound of surprise, not understanding at all. If this wasn't a vacuum zone, what was it? Lin Moyu said. This isn't just not a vacuum, on the contrary, it's very lively here. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3630, 3630. Chapter 3630, The Dark Side of the World. Little Python couldn't understand Lin Moyu's words at all. In its view, this place was just a vacuum with nothing but danger. How could it possibly be lively? But since Lin Moyu said so, Little Python was sensible enough not to argue. It instinctively felt that Lin Moyu wouldn't speak nonsense. Looking at the vacuum zone, Lin Moyu found it more and more amazing, and couldn't help but sigh, the world is truly marvelous. Little Python understood even less, but it didn't matter. Its understanding wasn't important, it just needed to be an obedient void beast that didn't talk back. It was even smart enough not to mention a single word it shouldn't. Lin Moyu had indeed seen some clues. Within the soul domains, there was chaotic mist, various worlds, countless living beings, and soul worlds. The great Taos seemed to be intertwined like a tangled mess, but in most cases, they were orderly, as if an invisible hand firmly held the great Tao powers together. This invisible hand was the chaotic mist. Of course, the chaotic mist could have errors, and then the great Tao powers would collide with each other, becoming more chaotic, eventually evolving into various dangerous areas. In this so-called vacuum zone, the chaotic mist had disappeared, and there was no longer a hand to control the great Tao powers. As a result, countless great Tao powers collided here. These collisions were silent but real. Until the collisions became more and more intense, finally bursting out all at once, affecting the soul void and turning into various dangerous areas. But these dangerous areas were invisible to void beasts. They could only grope and probe, using cannon fodder to explore the way. However, in Lin Moyu's eyes, they were clearly visible. The real danger wasn't what already existed, but the danger that suddenly erupted when the great Tao collisions reached their limit. However, all this was just on the surface. In Lin Moyu's view, the soul void was the dark side of the world. If the world belonged to Yang, then the soul void belonged to Yin. And the soul void itself also had Yin and Yang divisions. The soul domains with chaotic mist belonged to Yang within Yin, while this so-called vacuum zone belonged to Yin within Yin. It sounds complicated, involving the true roots of the world. By observing these great Taos, Lin Moyu gained many insights. Previously, on the origin continent, he had taken advantage of the great changes in heaven and earth to comprehend the world's evolution, incorporating all the results into his own world to accelerate its evolution. At that time, he vaguely felt something was missing. Only now did he truly realize what he lacked. He had the yin-yang origin. With the yin-yang origin, the world could evolve great Taos and become an independent existence. But the world also needed to have both yin and yang sides. If a world only had one side, that world would inevitably be incomplete. In his soul world, there were 50 worlds evolving, but they all only had one side, yang. How to make his worlds have both yin and yang sides? Should each world have its own yin and yang sides separately, or should multiple worlds share one dark side? Or should the worlds be combined, with one world serving as the dark side of another? The current insights brought Lin Moyu thoughts about the evolution of the entire world. He had a rough outline in mind, and the path ahead became broader. The specific details still needed further consideration and verification before he could decide. However, all of this would have to wait until his soul returned. He couldn't do it now. Each world is yang, the soul void is yin, and the origin ancestral ground is the central point connecting all worlds, and the soul void, the core and bridge of the entire world. This trip has been extremely rewarding, not in vain. Let's take this opportunity to look around more, perhaps there will be more discoveries. I always feel that this world, though strong, is not complete enough, as if something is missing. Lin Moyu said, "Let's go." Fly according to my instructions. A line of fire flew out from Lin Moyu's palm. The fire line moved forward in the vacuum world, and little Python followed Lin Moyu's orders, following the fire line. When the fire line turned, it followed the turn. When the fire line detoured, it also followed the detour. Lin Moyu could see where the dangers were. These dangers all came from great Tao power collisions. They seemed ordinary, but once fallen into them, it was another dimension, difficult to struggle out of. Several times, little Python had a chilling feeling, clearly not far from danger. Its instincts told it not to continue forward. But it still chose to trust Lin Moyu and continued to follow the fire line. Gradually, its eyes changed, becoming more and more amazed. Flying in the vacuum zone for so long, turning here and there, yet not encountering any danger. Master, how did you do it? It finally couldn't help but ask. Lin Moyu said, the dangers here have traces that can be found. I can see them. Little Python let out a big, wow, doesn't this mean Master can come and go freely here? Lin Moyu shook his head, it's not quite like that. Some dangers erupt suddenly and can't be predicted. Before he finished speaking, great Tao powers suddenly erupted nearby. A sea of fire swept over, covering everything in sight. The immortal golden body instinctively activated, covering the body with a layer of golden flames. The power great Tao operated simultaneously, instantly pushing the soul body's defense to the extreme. But the power of the sea of fire was too strong. The sea of fire came from the fire great Tao, and Lin Moyu didn't know exactly how powerful it was, but it definitely exceeded the great Tao realm of third grade innate souls. Master, save me, little Python screamed as it was being burned, but it didn't move erratically or throw Lin Moyu off. In the blink of an eye, little Python had been burned red and blue in patches, originally melting in the heavenly fire. Lin Moyu willed it, and the ice jade cushion flew out from the storage space. In an instant, vast cold chi swept through the void, freezing the sea of fire into ice. The sea of fire was originally intangible, yet it could be frozen. What was frozen wasn't the fire itself, but the great Tao power. In fact, the sea of fire was just a manifestation of great Tao power. The ice jade cushion froze the great Tao power, and the sea of fire shattered with a boom. The man and the python returned to the vacuum zone. Little Python was still shaken. That scared little Python to death. How could a sea of fire suddenly appear? Lin Moyu said, it should be that the great Tao power collisions here had reached a critical point. Our arrival just broke that critical point, so it erupted. This is the most dangerous thing here. The dangerous places that already exist are actually not dangerous. Let's go, continue following the fire line. Don't be afraid, you won't die. Saying this, Lin Moyu flicked out a strand of life force onto little Python, and its injuries immediately began to heal. Little Python made a sound of acknowledgement and continued to follow the fire line bravely. Although the fire line couldn't avoid suddenly erupting dangers, it could perfectly avoid existing dangers. Just this alone was enough to increase safety several times over. The vacuum zone between two soul domains wasn't large. Little Python quickly passed through and entered the Soul Heart King's territory. Only then did little Python breathe a sigh of relief, finally arrived safely. Seeing its reaction, Lin Moyu understood why it had been reluctant to leave a soul domain. Alright, go find some void beasts. I need to cultivate, and you need to eat. Little Python immediately thought of soul crystals, its eyes brightening, right away, right away. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up, go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3631, 3631. Chapter 3631, The Dead World. Two uninvited guests arrived in the Soul Heart King's small soul domain. Little Python, relying on its past memories, found one void beast after another. In the soul void, time became unimportant, even losing the concept of time altogether. Many void beasts would stay in one place, considering it their territory, and remain there for a very long time. This also meant that little Python's past memories were still useful. Except for a few that had died, most of those void beasts were still in their original locations. Little Python found them, and then worked together with Lin Moyu to kill them and refine them into soul crystals. Lin Moyu gradually discovered that little Python was somewhat different from other void beasts. He said calmly, your previous area of activity was quite large. Little Python said, back then, my intelligence had just awakened, and it was in this soul domain. I instinctively wanted to find a suitable place to continue refining and absorbing chaotic mist to become stronger. For some reason, I was born with a sense of urgency, as if I would be in danger if I didn't become stronger. Later, facts proved this to be true. While searching for suitable locations, I kept running into obstacles. Those places with dense chaotic mist were already occupied by void beasts, and those void beasts were all stronger than me. I could only keep changing locations, keep searching, and had several near-death experiences. However, I also met a few void beasts with better temperaments who told me where I could try, so I followed their advice. Later, I did find a place where a void beast was about to leave. It was going to join the Soul Heart King's ranks to get better resources, so its territory became mine. It had a nice temperament and told me some things. Later I heard it died in battle. At that time, I was still not strong, and someone came to take my territory and even tried to hunt me down. I had no choice but to risk leaving the Soul Heart Soul domain and enter the giant-faced Lion King's domain. Little Python recounted its story, and one could hear that it hadn't been easy for it in the past, facing setbacks time and time again, and escaping death repeatedly. The Soul Void, this world belonging to void beasts, was actually not much different from the real world, just more blatant, where everything was determined by strength, without the need for any reasoning. Lin Moyu chuckled, so this time you came back to find those guys, were they all ones who bullied you before? Little Python didn't deny it, some of them are. Little Python has its own agenda, but it's absolutely loyal and will never betray master. Lin Moyu said, I don't care if you have your own agenda. As long as what you do benefits me, that's enough. Continue. Alright, there are several more guys ahead. They're all very strong. Master, be careful, Little Python called out excitedly and plunged into the chaotic mist. After this period of experience, Lin Moyu already knew that in the Soul Void, the distribution of chaotic mist also varied in quantity. Chaotic mist was essential for void beasts to cultivate, just like origin spirit veins in the origin continent. Places with more chaotic mist were cultivation treasures. Since they were treasures, they would naturally be occupied by void beasts, and the better the place, the stronger the void beasts tended to be. This was one of the rules in the Soul Void. As Lin Moyu had thought, no matter where it was, no matter how chaotic and disorderly it appeared on the surface, there must be its own internal rules. But this was just a surface phenomenon. What really needed to be explored was where the chaotic mist came from. This was fundamental. The chaotic Great Taos in his eyes began to change, with Great Tao powers starting to concentrate in one direction, becoming denser. Lin Moyu's heart stirred, and he pointed in the direction where the Great Taos were concentrating, go that way. Little Python was very obedient, going wherever Lin Moyu pointed. The Great Tao powers gradually converged, becoming denser and more numerous. Gradually, in Lin Moyu's vision, he saw an invisible barrier. The barrier passed through the chaotic mist. For void beasts like Little Python, this barrier was invisible and imperceptible. This situation was unrelated to realm, it was due to the innate deficiencies of void beasts. If one were to trace it to its source, Lin Moyu knew he was still far from having such ability. Anyway, the barrier was clearly visible to him. This was a world barrier, and behind the barrier should be a world. Stop here. When they were some distance from the barrier, Lin Moyu told Little Python to stop. Little Python couldn't see the barrier. If it continued forward, it would definitely crash into it. For Little Python, this barrier was as if it didn't exist, and it could easily enter it. But for Lin Moyu, it wasn't like that. If he entered it, it would immediately alert this world. Perhaps a Tao Lord would consider him an invader, causing unnecessary trouble. Lin Moyu came to the outside of the barrier. The undead eye looked through the barrier but didn't see any soul flames. The entire world was silent, and Lin Moyu even felt a hint of deathly stillness. After pondering for a moment, Lin Moyu still didn't reach out to touch the barrier. Instead, he said to Little Python, go ahead and see if there are any void beasts or soul worlds. If this world had living beings, there should be some signs of life. Upon hearing this, Little Python immediately flew over. The world barrier had no effect on it, and Little Python didn't feel anything. It flew a long distance forward, completely disappearing from sight. After waiting for a while, Little Python flew back. There are no void beasts, and no soul worlds. Finding neither didn't necessarily prove anything, but it provided a bit of corroboration for Lin Moyu's guess. Lin Moyu asked, "Did you have any special feelings inside?" Little Python thought for a moment. "It's somewhat quiet, and seems a bit desolate. The chaotic mist is a bit thin. Anyway, it's not a good place. I don't like it there." Lin Moyu's heart stirred, and a large number of skeleton god generals flew out from his storage space and entered the world barrier. As the skeleton god generals moved, Lin Moyu carefully sensed the changes in the world. If this world became alert, there should be some reaction. But obviously there wasn't. The world barrier still had no reaction at all. This world might not have considered the skeleton god generals as outsiders, but there could be another possibility. The skeleton god generals spread out in all directions, gradually moving farther away, and more situations could be seen. As Little Python had said, this world was very quiet and also desolate. The skeleton god generals flew for a long time, until the limit of perception, without seeing a single soul world or the existence of void beasts. Lin Moyu muttered to himself, "Could this world be already dead?" Little Python didn't understand and instinctively asked, "Master, what did you say?" Lin Moyu shook his head, "Nothing. Let's go in." He still decided to go in and see for himself. Some things had to be seen with one's own eyes to know. Passing through the barrier, waves of desolation came over him. Experiencing it personally was clearer than relying on the skeleton god generals. The guess in his heart became reality. Lin Moyu muttered to himself, "This world is really dead." Asterisk 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 asterisk. Thank you to Norprayu for the support. Asterisk 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 asterisk. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3632, 3632. Chapter 3632, The World's Origin Core, Another World. This world was already dead, devoid of vitality, with the Great Tao dormant. The world barrier still existed, but it could no longer organize the Great Tao powers within the world. Normally, the Great Tao powers outside the world barrier were chaotically intertwined and difficult to organize. Once the Great Tao powers passed through the world barrier, they would be organized by this world, becoming orderly. However, the Great Tao powers inside this world were just as chaotic as those outside the barrier. If not for the existence of the world barrier, it would be impossible to know that this was the interior of a world. Worlds also have yin and yang aspects. The worlds in the soul void are the other side of this world. Only by finding the origin core of this world could one enter the other side of this world through the origin core. But the origin core was extremely difficult to find. In the countless years of the soul void, very few had been able to find the origin core of a certain world. Seeing Lin Moyu not speaking, Little Python finally couldn't help but ask, "Master, did you say this is a world?" Lin Moyu nodded. "That's right. To be precise, this is a world that has already died." Little Python understood even less. "Can worlds die too?" Lin Moyu said, "Whether living beings or certain things, everything in the universe will have a day of perishing. Worlds are no exception. You want to transcend the soul void and become true living beings, willing to risk your lives. The vast majority will perish in the process. Great Tao realm experts think they have unlimited lifespans, but when a great battle comes, even Tao lords can fall. Your kings, and the emperors of the soul domains, they may die one day too. There's nothing strange about this." Little Python's understanding of heaven and earth obviously hadn't reached Lin Moyu's level. It listened with partial understanding. But it didn't matter. If Lin Moyu said so, it must be correct. Lin Moyu carefully examined the direction of the Great Taos. Although the Great Taos here were equally chaotic, there were always some subtle differences. The Great Taos of a world ultimately have a return path and a starting point, which is the world's origin core. As long as one could follow the Great Taos, one could always find the origin core. What void beasts lacked was precisely this point. They couldn't see the Great Taos, couldn't see the thread-like Great Tao powers, so they couldn't find the origin core of a world. The soul void was vast and boundless. Trying to find the origin core of a certain world by luck would be many times harder than finding a needle in a haystack. They couldn't do it, but Lin Moyu could. Lin Moyu followed the direction of the great Taos, instructing little Python to adjust its direction. Gradually, Lin Moyu discovered that this world was not much smaller than the origin continent. He didn't know if it had always been this big, or if it had shrunk because the world had died. Under his careful search, he finally found the source of the world. In the soul void, a fist-sized ball of light emitted a dreamlike glow. Countless colors appeared in the light ball, which also contained many great Tao powers. It seemed to encompass countless great Taos. When he saw the light ball, Lin Moyu suddenly thought of the ancestral water essence. The two had some similarities. The ancestral water essence also seemed to contain all the colors of the world. Any color one could think of could be found in the ancestral water essence. Little Python looked at this light ball, and there was a sense of urgency in its eyes. A voice in its heart kept telling it, "Eat it, it will bring great benefits." However, little Python didn't do so, but instead asked, "Master, is this the world's origin core?" Lin Moyu made a sound of agreement. "Yes, this is the world's origin core." Little Python's eyes shone. "Then can I go to the real world through this core?" Lin Moyu shook his head. "You can, but this world is already dead. Who knows what the real world has become? Let's take a look." As he spoke, he drew a divine rune. The divine rune fell on little Python, and he said at the same time, "Don't resist." Little Python didn't resist. As the divine rune fell, little Python's form rapidly shrank, finally becoming only about 3 meters tall. Lin Moyu opened his storage space, and little Python entered it. Beings from the soul void couldn't enter the real world, at least little Python's current strength was far from enough, so Lin Moyu could only think of other methods. As for him, since he originally came from the real world, there was no problem. Lin Moyu used his soul power to communicate with the world's origin core, but didn't sense any world will. The world was dead, even its will had completely dissipated. His heart stirred, and his soul body entered the world's origin core. After a brief transmission, the sound of wind reached his ears. Gusts of wind blew past, penetrating his soul body. Even after entering this world, he was still just a soul body. Lin Moyu found himself in the midst of a desolate area, with thick desert below. Scorching sunlight fell, and the temperature of the desert was very high, at least 1,000 degrees, no longer suitable for ordinary living beings to survive. Looking up at the sky, he saw a sun origin. The sun origin was extremely large and close at hand, scorching the earth daily, so the temperature was ridiculously high. Lin Moyu quickly rose, flying above the ground, and saw the true appearance of the earth. This was a planet, a not-so-complete planet. Half of the planet was scorching hot, half was freezing cold, with the yin-yang origin revolving around the planet. Where the sun origin passed, the world was scorching, turning into a sea of fire. Where the moon origin passed, everything froze. Under the alternation of these two origins, the world fell into deathly silence. Looking out beyond the planet, this was a starry world, similar to the Great World. In the distance were countless stars, but each star was shattered. No living beings, no soul flames. This world was dead, and not even the living beings inside had escaped. Lin Moyu sighed inwardly. What a pity. He flew around the planet once, and in the area ruled by the moon origin, he saw some ice-sealed houses. The appearance of the houses was not the same as human houses in the origin continent. Here, there were more of those tall buildings, somewhat similar to Lin Moyu's previous life. He also saw some ice-sealed people. Their eyes were panicked. Due to being sealed in ice, their final expressions were well preserved, unchanged for who knows how many years. The living beings of this world had one more hand than humans. This hand grew on their back, and each person also had an eye on the back of their head. They had 3 eyes and 3 hands, able to see behind them. Other than that, they weren't much different from humans. Lin Moyu opened a crack in his storage space and said to little Python, "See for yourself. This is the real world you wanted to go to." After seeing everything through the crack, little Python murmured, "Goodness, is the real world really so cruel?" It used the word, cruel, showing that it was different from other void beasts. It seemed to have some compassion in addition to intelligence. Lin Moyu said, "Let's go look elsewhere. Maybe we can find something." Little Python obeyed. "All right, let's go." Little Python couldn't come out now, so it could only watch. But being able to see the real world, little Python already felt it was worth it. Lin Moyu flew into the sky, heading towards other stars, as well as planets outside this star system. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3633, 3633. Chapter 3633, Refining the World, Void Sea of Fire. Lin Moyu moved extremely quickly, covering most of the world in no time. This world was indeed similar to the Great World, with a galaxy structure. Lin Moyu traversed hundreds of galaxies, reaching the edge of the world, where he finally saw some unusual scenes. The edge of the real world, like in the Soul Void, also had a layer of world barrier. Outside the world barrier was an equally thick world mist. The real world mist and the chaotic mist in the Soul Void looked very similar, but their natures were completely opposite. Only by seeing it personally and experiencing it firsthand could one know that the Soul Void was truly the other side of the real world. The real world was yang, and the Soul Void was yin. Yin and yang coexist, allowing this world to constantly evolve and truly exist. All things in heaven and earth are like this. The barrier of this real world had already cracked, with dense fissures, as if the entire world could collapse at any moment. Outside the barrier, threads of world mist were seeping in. Lin Moyu carefully sensed for a moment, confirming that this world was collapsing. So this world wasn't originally this small, it was even larger, but after death, it began to shrink. It's being devoured by the world mist. If this continues, after a long time, it will completely disappear. Lin Moyu made this judgment based on his understanding of the Great Tao. Now the world is filled with death energy, the Great Tao no longer exists, and it will eventually dissipate completely. Such a world was like chicken ribs, a pity to discard. Well, with such a world, I might as well use it for an experiment. Lin Moyu returned to the Soul Void, then followed the tangled Great Taos to find the world's origin core again. A ball of world-burning fire ignited from his palm, flying into the world's origin core. The world-burning fire evolved into a sea of fire, engulfing the world's origin core, then rapidly spreading in all directions. Soon, the entire world was burning with raging flames, turning into a sea of fire. The sea of fire evolved from the world-burning fire existed not only in the Soul Void but also in the real world. Flames filled every corner of the entire world, beginning to refine this world. In the Soul Void, a huge fireball appeared, its light penetrating the chaotic mist, spreading very far. Little Python, inside the storage ring, couldn't stick its head out at all. Regardless of how powerful the world-burning fire was, it was scared out of its wits. Little Python trembled and called out, "Master, what are you doing?" This was also Lin Moyu's first time using the world-burning fire to refine a real world, and he hadn't expected it to cause such a huge commotion. However, his experiment was successful. The world-burning fire could indeed refine an entire world, and in the process of refinement, the world-burning fire could grow significantly. The effect was much better than burning void beasts to death. Although the world had died, it still contained vast power, which could be used by the world-burning fire. Of course, refining an entire world wasn't so easy. If the Great Tao of this world still had will, it would resist and reject the world-burning fire. If there were strong beings in the world, they would surely mobilize the entire world to come and deal with him. Of course, he could forcibly refine it, but the level of power required was far beyond what he could currently reach. Secondly, the stronger the world, the slower the refinement speed. Like this dead world before him, with no Great Tao to resist and not as large as the Great World, refining it still required considerable time. Most importantly, this world was reflected in the Soul Void, causing a sea of fire to appear in the Soul Void. Lin Moyu's brows furrowed slightly, the commotion is a bit big. The nearby void beasts will probably discover this place. Well, it saves me the trouble of finding them one by one. I'll kill them all at once, and the soul crystals obtained should be enough for me to enter the 6th grade soul. Lin Moyu stepped on the sea of fire, leaving this world and coming to the outside of the sea of fire. He first released Little Python, then released Legion commanders and skeleton god generals, even the Skeleton King, forming a true undead army. He had the Legion commanders lead them, forming a large army, deploying along the sea of fire. All the void beasts that came were to be beaten and thrown into the sea of fire. The world-burning fire was burning fiercely, letting these void beasts serve as fuel to make it burn even more intensely. Little Python was somewhat worried. "Master, such a big commotion, I'm afraid it will attract the attention of the Soul Heart King." Lin Moyu said, "Indeed, that's possible, but there's no way around it. Now we can't stop. Why don't you tell me, what kind of being is the Soul Heart King?" Little Python said. Little Python has never seen the Soul Heart King, only heard others talk about it. It's said that the Soul Heart King can take on many forms, changing into all kinds of void beasts, and is skilled at using others' weaknesses, creating illusions to confuse people. Once trapped in an illusion, it's hard to break free, and one will eventually become the Soul Heart King's puppet, or directly die. Most void beasts excel in the Soul Great Tao, but they don't understand the mysteries of the Great Tao, only instinctively using Great Tao power. Most void beasts' attack methods are direct attacks on the soul body, or using methods like soul shock, simple and brutal. The Soul Great Tao is incredibly profound, with illusions being one of its main abilities, more difficult to defend against than direct attacks. The Soul Heart King's ability to use enemies' weaknesses to create illusions is very deadly to other void beasts with low intelligence. As for whether it would work on himself, he'd have to try to know. With his Tao heart, and having the Disaster Scepter and Soul Gem, he wasn't very afraid. Compared to the Soul Heart King, Lin Moyu felt that beings like the giant-faced Lion King were more difficult to deal with. It would be best if the Soul Heart King didn't come, but if it did, he would have to fight head-on. A Legion commander sent back information that they had discovered traces of void beasts. Indeed, void beasts were coming, which didn't surprise Lin Moyu. However, in the small soul domain, the truly powerful void beasts had all left to compete for the soul refining furnace. The void beasts remaining now weren't too strong. Lin Moyu believed the Legion commanders could handle them, and even if they couldn't win, they could stall. After all, the world-burning fire had already started refining the world, and this process was irreversible. Unless he died, it couldn't be stopped. Lin Moyu just wanted to drag it out until the world was completely refined, then leave, killing some void beasts and getting some soul crystals in the process of refinement. More and more void beasts noticed this place and rushed over. Surrounding the Sea of Fire, a great battle erupted. Under the command of the Legion commanders, the undead army opened fire fully, launching an all-out attack on the incoming void beasts. The void beasts were wounded and crippled one after another, thrown into the Sea of Fire, refined into soul crystals. One by one, the refined soul crystals flew along the Sea of Fire to Lin Moyu's hand. Lin Moyu just stood there, reaping considerable rewards. As time passed, the world grew smaller and smaller, the Sea of Fire burned more and more fiercely, and the world-burning fire was rapidly growing stronger. When half the world had been refined, Lin Moyu had over 200 more soul crystals in his hand. Adding these to what he had collected before, it was enough for him to advance to the 6th grade soul. Lin Moyu wasn't clear how long he had been in the soul void, but it couldn't have been too long. Being able to advance to the 6th grade soul so quickly was already quite astonishing. A vast soul aura swept over like a gale, pushing away the chaotic mist. A giant void beast appeared in view. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3634, 3634. Chapter 3634, Humans are a great race. Lin Moyu looked at the giant void beast flying out of the chaotic mist, with a slightly surprised expression in his eyes. This void beast is different, Lin Moyu said softly. Little Python also echoed Lin Moyu's words, indeed, it's different. It's not a true void beast, but should be a being from the real world that got lost here and then turned into a void beast. Lin Moyu asked, even Great Tao Realm experts can get lost. Little Python said, maybe it was confused by the Soul Heart King's illusions, which ultimately led to it getting lost. Lin Moyu nodded slightly, that explanation makes sense. This giant void beast looked similar to the King of the Boundary Sea. At a glance, Lin Moyu judged that it should be from the giant whale clan. But it had truly become lost and turned into a subordinate of the Soul Heart King. Though it possessed the strength of a 4th grade soul, unlike Little Python, it didn't have intelligence. Its eyes were extremely vacant. Before it could get close, the undead army had already charged towards it. The undead army unleashed powerful combat strength, with countless attacks landing on the giant whale's body. But the whale was too big and too strong. The undead army's attacks didn't cause even a ripple, as if they were just tickling it. A faint halo enveloped the giant whale, blocking most of the attacks. The whale slowly opened its mouth, and Lin Moyu saw a void beast appear inside. That void beast spoke with authority. Stop. As it spoke, a gust of air blew out from the whale's body. Whoosh! A hurricane arose in the soul void, and all the undead army members who had approached were blown away without exception, flying back an extremely far distance. Lin Moyu's brows furrowed slightly. He sensed a strong pressure from that void beast. But he couldn't discern the other party's realm. In the undead eye, the other party's soul flame wasn't very strong either, much weaker than the giant whale's. At most, it was at the 7th grade soul level, about the same as himself. Little Python beside him suddenly trembled, its voice shaking. It's the Soul Heart King. Lin Moyu was somewhat surprised. This is the Soul Heart King. Little Python said. Although I've never seen the Soul Heart King, I've felt his aura before. It's definitely him, no mistake. Lin Moyu realized that the void beast in the whale's mouth might be an avatar of the Soul Heart King. With a thought, he stopped the undead army's attack on the giant whale. The whale's defense was too strong, the undead army's attacks had no effect on it. Moreover, the other party seemed to have come without any hostility. Lin Moyu looked at the Soul Heart King's avatar inside the whale. Its form kept changing, sometimes like a mouse, sometimes like a human, sometimes changing into the appearance of other void beasts. Lin Moyu realized this was related to his own thoughts. It wasn't that its external form was changing, but because his own thoughts were causing it to change in his eyes. In simple terms, whatever his subconscious thought of, the other party's form would change into that. Actively controlling thoughts was meaningless, what needed to be controlled was the subconscious. Lin Moyu's Tao heart was firm. He forcefully controlled the deepest subconscious of his soul, seeing the Soul Heart King as a human. Sure enough, the Soul Heart King's appearance stabilized, turning into a human-like form with unclear features. In fact, from this point, Lin Moyu had completely confirmed its identity. It was indeed the Soul Heart King. The giant whale stopped far away, not coming too close. The Soul Heart King looked at Lin Moyu. Hello, cultivator from the real world. The Soul Heart King's tone was calm, with no discernible emotion, but Lin Moyu was extremely vigilant. In his expectation, the king of a small soul domain would be no weaker than a branch Tao lord in the origin continent, even slightly stronger than a first-grade innate soul great Tao realm expert. Moreover, this was the soul void, the other party's home ground. If he wasn't careful, he might fall into its trap. Controlling his subconscious and not revealing any weaknesses, Lin Moyu spoke. Greetings to the Soul Heart King. May I ask what brings you here? The Soul Heart King's voice was calm. I came to see how you are dealing with this broken world. Lin Moyu was surprised. So the Soul Heart King knows about this world. The Soul Heart King made a sound of agreement. I've known about it for a long time. I've been there too, but unfortunately, this world was destroyed. Its world origin collapsed, and it no longer has any value. Lin Moyu asked, do you know how this world collapsed? The Soul Heart King said, of course I know. A group of cultivators from the real world came here, fought fiercely with the strong beings of this world, destroyed this world, and took away its great Tao. Indeed, it was as he had guessed. This world was destroyed in a great Tao competition. Great Tao competitions take many forms. Some are one-on-one battles, while others involve groups attacking together. Looking at it this way, the origin continent was indeed strong enough. Even when simultaneously attacked by multiple worlds, it was severely damaged but not destroyed, and could even recover after countless years. The Soul Heart King asked, may I ask how this friend should be addressed? Lin Moyu didn't conceal it. Lin Moyu. The Soul Heart King nodded. Friend Lin can call me Soul Heart. I observe that Friend Lin's appearance belongs to the human race, right? Lin Moyu's eyes showed curiosity. That's right, I am indeed human. He was somewhat puzzled. There were countless worlds with all kinds of races. Why did the Soul Heart King specifically mention that he was human? And from its tone, it seemed very familiar with humans. Could it be that there were many humans in the Soul Void? The Soul Heart King seemed to see through Lin Moyu's thoughts. Friend Lin need not be puzzled. In the real world, humans are a vast race and are the dominant force in many worlds. Among the myriad great Taos and infinite worlds, humans are an extremely large and powerful group. The world that Friend Lin is currently refining was destroyed by human powerhouses. Lin Moyu said, I'd like to hear more about it. The Soul Heart King seemed very patient and slowly said, "This world was once called the Three-Eyed Realm. The dominant beings of the world were a kind of humanoid creature with 3 eyes and 3 hands. Friend Lin must have gone in and seen them. I remember when those human powerhouses came, they said, those not of our race must have different hearts, and then completely destroyed this world." The Soul Heart King recounted the process of the Three-Eyed Realm's destruction, expressing the dominance of the human powerhouses and the cruelty of the Great Tao competition. In a Great Tao competition, there was only one outcome, life or death. There were no other possibilities. So it couldn't be said that the human powerhouses were particularly cruel. This was limited by the rules of the world, there was no choice. Being able to say, "Those not of our race must have different hearts," already showed that those human powerhouses might have spared other non-human worlds. After patiently listening, Lin Moyu asked, "Did the Soul Heart King come to find me for something specific?" The Soul Heart King wouldn't have come for no reason, and it was only an avatar that came. If it wanted to kill him, it would surely have come in person. Now that it came with an avatar and didn't express hostility, it clearly had some purpose. The Soul Heart King said, "I do indeed have a favor to ask." Lin Moyu said, "You can tell me. I'll help if I can." The Soul Heart King said, "There's no rush. Let's discuss it in detail after friend Lin has refined this world. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3635, 3635. Chapter 3635, Rumors Spread. The Soul Heart King drove the giant whale away, and returned a moment later, herding a group of not too strong void beasts. These void beasts had their minds confused, and rushed into the sea of fire without hesitation, turning into soul crystals one by one. The Soul Heart King's actions were like a show of sincerity, expressing his goodwill. Lin Moyu didn't bother with him, naturally accepting the soul crystals that were delivered. With the Soul Heart King's help, the number of soul crystals surged. Lin Moyu felt he had enough soul crystals to advance to the middle stage of 6th grade soul. Little Python shrank its head, not daring to peek out at all. Faced with the Soul Heart King, it was as timid as a mouse, terrified. Lin Moyu was also somewhat helpless. What's the use of being afraid? If he wants to do something to you, shrinking won't help. Little Python said. Little Python understands, but is still afraid. This is instinct, can't be changed. It spoke as if this was perfectly natural. Lin Moyu couldn't be bothered to deal with it. The world grew smaller and smaller as it was refined, until it was completely refined. The world-burning fire grew stronger, at least twice as strong as before, with better effects than burning thousands of void beasts. After all, this was a world, containing some of the most fundamental substances. These invisible, intangible, and imperceptible yet truly existing substances were the source of the world-burning fire's rapid growth. After refining the entire world, a world crystal appeared in the soul void. This world crystal, refined from an entire independent world, was about the size of an adult's head, surpassing the world's most beautiful jade, emitting dreamlike colors. It seemed to be evolving and nurturing something inside. The entire world had been devoid of vitality before, but now there was a hint of life. Life born from death, extreme yin generating yang, this world is truly marvelous. Lin Moyu sensed the world crystal. He knew that if he took this world crystal back and gave it to his evolving great world, it could help the great world complete its evolution faster. At this moment, Lin Moyu suddenly had some completely new ideas about creating worlds. He realized that his previous thoughts might have been somewhat narrow. Why did worlds have to be independent? Worlds could coexist. And even if worlds coexisted temporarily, why couldn't they split apart in the future? Human hearts can change in countless ways, so why couldn't worlds? This sudden insight broadened Lin Moyu's horizons tremendously. The gains from this trip were extremely great, not only the world crystal but also nearly 1,000 high-quality soul crystals. The Soul Heart King waited patiently nearby, not rushing, waiting for Lin Moyu to speak first. Lin Moyu understood his meaning. After putting away the world crystal, he said, "Soul Heart friend, I'm done here." The Soul Heart King made a sound of agreement. "If Lin friend doesn't mind, how about coming to my residence?" Little Python's body suddenly trembled, suppressing its fear to stick out its head. It seemed not to dare say anything, only using its eyes to tell Lin Moyu, "Don't go." It displayed its cowardice to the fullest. Lin Moyu wasn't afraid at all and chuckled, "Then I'll be troubling you." The Soul Heart King didn't make him feel any danger, and he could hear that the Soul Heart King's attitude was very sincere, truly wanting his help. While agreeing to the Soul Heart King, Lin Moyu transmitted to Little Python, "If you're afraid, I'll put you away and let you out later." Little Python instinctively wanted to hide, but after hesitating for a moment, it gritted its teeth and said, "No, I can't hide. If there's danger, Little Python must protect Master." Seeing it forcing itself, Lin Moyu laughed, "Then let's go." The giant whale turned around and flew towards the depths of the mist. Little Python could only follow with a stiff upper lip. The group headed towards the Soul Heart King's lair, which was also the center of this small soul domain. It was perfect, as Lin Moyu also wanted to see what the center of a small soul domain looked like. The surrounding mist was becoming increasingly dense. In the dense chaotic mist, there were many void beasts. But where the giant whale passed, these void beasts retreated, not daring to conflict with the giant whale. Lin Moyu asked, "Soul Heart friend, how did you obtain this giant whale?" The Soul Heart King said, "A long time ago, when I was returning from Golden Furnace Island, I encountered it on the way. At that time, it was already lost and severely injured, but it hadn't fallen asleep and was constantly attacking the void beasts it encountered. I stepped in to subdue it, and since then it became my mount. Although this whale's realm isn't very high, its defense is powerful, not inferior to a first-grade void beast. And because it's lost, it has no self-awareness, so it's quite obedient." Lin Moyu smiled, "So this whale wasn't made to lose itself by your hand?" The Soul Heart King said, "I know many void beasts spread such rumors, but I disdain such methods." The Soul Heart King had his own pride and disdained doing such things. Lin Moyu also smiled. In this world, whether in the real world or the soul void, there are too many cases of rumors spreading. The two chatted casually, and from the Soul Heart King's words, Lin Moyu learned another version of the soul void, different from what Little Python had said. Although equally chaotic, the internal rules were clearer and more definite. The division of various soul domains wasn't arbitrary, there were deep reasons behind it. As the chaotic mist dispersed, Lin Moyu's eyes suddenly brightened. A treasure mountain appeared in view, looking ethereal and hazy, emitting an astonishing aura. He had stayed in the soul void for quite some time but had never seen any physical objects. It wasn't that there were no physical objects in the soul void, just that they were extremely rare. In the past, some powerful beings from the origin continent had obtained powerful treasures from the soul void. Unexpectedly, the Soul Heart King's lair was a treasure mountain. A soul great Tao treasure. Lin Moyu sensed the mountain's power. This treasure mountain was surrounded by colorful light, with soul great Tao power flowing through it. If this treasure mountain were taken to the origin continent, it would be a supreme treasure of the soul great Tao, perhaps even stronger than the treasures in Tao Lord's hands. The Soul Heart King's voice came from the treasure mountain, "Welcome, Lin friend, to my humble abode." At this moment, the Soul Heart King's avatar dissipated, and the giant whale also stopped. From the treasure mountain, a black-robed person flew out. Wearing a long black robe with delicate features, the Soul Heart King looked no different from an ordinary human. This was the Soul Heart King's true body, emitting a strong pressure that inspired awe. Lin Moyu judged from its soul flame that it was indeed comparable to a branch Tao Lord, a top-tier powerhouse. Perhaps in the soul void, it could compete with origin Tao Lords. Lin Moyu bowed slightly. "Greetings, Soul Heart King." The Soul Heart King welcomed him with a smile. "I've prepared some Tao Void tea. If Lin friend doesn't mind, you can try some." Lin Moyu smiled. "I'd be honored." Little Python, with courage from who knows where, stiffly carried Lin Moyu into the treasure mountain. On the treasure mountain, there was a small platform with a large stone. This large stone served as a tea table. The Soul Heart King politely invited Lin Moyu to sit down and personally poured tea for him. "This is Tao Void tea, which I obtained from Golden Furnace Island. It's quite rare. Please try it, Lin friend." Lin Moyu said. "Tea brewed with ancestral water must not be ordinary. Soul Heart friend is too kind." Chapter 3636. 3636. Chapter 3636, The Soul Heart King's Ambition. Of course, it wasn't pure ancestral water, just mixed with some ancestral water. Even just mixed with ancestral water, it was quite remarkable. Ancestral water is precious. Using this water to brew tea clearly made the tea even more valuable. Lin Moyu asked, "What's special about this Tao Void tea?" The Soul Heart King said, "On Golden Furnace Island, there is a Tao Void tree. The Tao Void tea comes from this tree. This tree is a treasure of the Golden Furnace Emperor. It's very difficult for us to obtain even a little. I only have a small amount in stock." Lin Moyu joked, "It's so precious, I'm almost afraid to drink it. I fear that after drinking, I won't be able to fulfill Soul Heart Friend's request." The Soul Heart King said, "Lin Friend is joking. I just feel that Lin Friend is someone worth befriending, so I'm treating you with this tea. As for what I want to ask of you, it doesn't matter whether you complete it or not. This tea is called Tao Void, explaining the relationship between Tao and Void. We Void beasts drink this tea often to observe the Tao, understand the Tao, and comprehend the Tao. For someone like Lin Friend who drinks the Tao Void tea, it can strengthen the connection between the soul and the soul world, making it less likely to get lost in the soul void. This tea is useless for Tao lords from the real world, but for Lin Friend, it's quite a good thing." Lin Moyu smiled after listening. Then Lin will not be polite. He drank the tea in his hand in one gulp, without any suspicion that the Soul Heart King might have poisoned the tea. The Tao Void tea exploded inside his soul body. Lin Moyu clearly felt that his connection with his soul world had strengthened. This feeling was very mysterious. Previously, the connection was very vague. Although he wouldn't get lost, to discern direction still required careful sensing. After drinking the Tao Void tea, the connection became stronger. He no longer needed to consciously sense it. With just a thought, he could know the direction of his soul world. If the effect were a bit stronger, he might even be able to sense what was happening in his soul world. The Soul Heart King smiled. "How does Lin Friend find this tea?" Lin Moyu said, "Quite good. If the ancestral water could be a bit more concentrated, it would be even better." The Soul Heart King said, "Indeed, ancestral water can enhance the effect. But ancestral water is hard to obtain. For us kings, even getting 1 or 2 drops is extremely difficult." Lin Moyu pointed his finger, and 10 drops of ancestral water flew out, falling into the tea one by one. Boom! The tea boiled, and strong auras rose from the teapot. The Soul Heart King watched with wide eyes, speechless for a moment. Previously, the ancestral water in his tea was at most 1 drop. Lin Moyu had increased the ancestral water in the tea tenfold at once, which would enhance the effect of the Tao Void tea several times over. Lin Moyu said, "Lin happened to obtain some ancestral water by chance." The Soul Heart King said, "Lin Friend's chance encounters are truly enviable. Even the Golden Furnace Emperor would find it difficult to obtain large amounts of ancestral water." Lin Moyu drank another cup of Tao Void tea. The effect was indeed better than before. His connection with his soul world became even clearer. However, this feeling would fade after a certain time, ultimately retaining only a small effect, but still much better than before. The Soul Heart King also drank the Tao Void tea. After drinking, his eyes emitted a bright light as he looked around. Lin Moyu knew he was observing the Tao. Void beasts couldn't see the Tao, but with the help of Tao Void tea, they could observe its mysteries. Little Python whispered from the side, "Master, can I drink a little?" Lin Moyu pointed his finger, and a stream of water entered Little Python's mouth. He was never stingy with his own people. Little Python's eyes immediately lit up, and it murmured, "Heavens, so this is what the world is like." It saw the Tao for the first time and was shocked by its existence. Knowing and seeing were completely different concepts. A moment later, the Soul Heart King came back from his state of observing the Tao. "Thank you, Lin Friend. The Tao is truly impartial, as they say." The Soul Heart King's aura was noticeably stronger than before. A moment of observing the Tao had given him considerable gains. The Tao is impartial. He had treated Lin Moyu with sincerity and received Lin Moyu's reward in return, benefiting himself. Lin Moyu said, "Treating others with sincerity has its benefits. Soul Heart Friend, you can tell me what you need now." The Soul Heart King waved his hand, and colorful light intertwined within the treasure mountain, weaving a strange and wonderful scene. This was a very primitive world, wild and primordial, yet full of vitality. There were already living beings in the world, and quite a few of them, but these beings seemed to have not yet entered the path of cultivation. They still followed the natural rule of survival of the fittest, eating raw meat and drinking river water. The Soul Heart King said, "By chance, I discovered such a world. This world is still very primitive, with no cultivators in it. I want to ask Lin Friend to help find the origin core of this world." Lin Moyu said, "You want to enter this world and become its god?" The Soul Heart King nodded slightly. "Indeed, that's what I'm thinking." With the Soul Heart King's strength, once he entered such a primitive world, he would surely be worshipped as a god. But Lin Moyu didn't understand. What was the use of entering such a primitive world? The lack of cultivators meant that the Tao might not be complete, and the world might be extremely small. It was clear that the Soul Heart King should be someone with ambition. He shouldn't be so short-sighted. The Soul Heart King suddenly chuckled. Does Lin friend think that entering such a primitive world has no great use? Lin Moyu didn't deny it. Indeed, I have such thoughts. The Soul Heart King explained. Lin friend should know that we void beasts all have an instinct, which is to transcend the soul void and enter the real world. But how to enter the real world, and which real world to enter, this is particular. Not just any world will do. If we choose to enter a powerful real world with complete Tao and numerous strong beings, we might face Tao lords. In the soul void, we naturally don't fear these Tao lords, but once we enter the real world, we might not be a match for these Tao lords and could very likely perish. If we choose a relatively weak world, perhaps this world has limited development potential, or perhaps it has suffered severe damage before. This is not the best choice for us either. The world I'm showing is a newborn primitive world. Although its Tao is not strong, it's still being perfected and should become stronger in the future. If I enter it, I might be able to guide the development of its Tao. Lin Moyu understood. The reason why the Soul Heart King chose such a primitive world was not just to transcend the soul void and become a real living being. He was thinking further ahead. After becoming a real living being, he wanted to guide the Tao and ultimately become the master of that world. This kind of thing was easier to do when a world was just taking shape. Once the world matured and there were numerous strong beings, it would become much more difficult. The world's Tao would develop instinctive consciousness, and other strong beings wouldn't allow it either. Even the Lord of Hell, who was already very powerful, didn't succeed and ultimately died at the hands of unknown strong beings. The Soul Heart King's ambition was great, not just simply transcending. Lin Moyu said. Lin understands. Soul Heart Friend wants Lin to help find the origin core of that world, right? The Soul Heart King nodded. That's right. I've been searching for worlds for many years. Only this world is most suitable for me. Unfortunately, I can never find the location of the origin core, so I can only ask for Lin friend's help. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3637, 3637. Chapter 3637, The Structure of the Soul Void. Lin Moyu sipped the Tao Void tea and asked leisurely, where is this world located? The Soul Heart King's search for worlds wasn't limited to his own small soul domain. He had been to many soul domains and even left the Golden Furnace Great Soul Domain. This method of searching was called trying one's luck by the Soul Heart King, and facts proved that his luck wasn't bad. He really did find several worlds. The Soul Heart King had a special ability that allowed him to confuse others through the Soul Great Tao and even obtain part of their memories. This way, as long as he found the corresponding living beings, he could often find that world and even know if it was the one he wanted. Finally, he found the world he was looking for, but finding the world's origin core was still very difficult. He had tried, searched for a long time, and ultimately had to give up. The Soul Heart King said, if Lin friend can help me find the origin core of that world, whatever request you have, as long as I can do it, I certainly won't refuse. Lin Moyu said, I don't have any particular requests. I'm new to the Soul Void and very curious about it. I wonder if Soul Heart Friend could tell me about some of the situations in the Soul Void. The Soul Heart King chuckled. Such a small matter, what's that worth? As he spoke, he waved his hand, and colorful light shot out from the treasure mountain. A large amount of chaotic mist gathered towards the colorful light, finally forming a hazy jade tablet. The jade tablet wasn't like ordinary jade tablets, only souls could touch it, and it couldn't be taken to the real world. The Soul Heart King took the jade tablet in his hand, touched it with his finger, and the jade tablet flashed with light, becoming more and more ethereal. Until finally, the jade tablet was almost invisible, and only then did the Soul Heart King stop. The Soul Heart King handed the jade tablet to Lin Moyu. What Lin friend wants to know should all be in here. He wanted to transcend, to completely leave the soul void, so he held nothing back from Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu could feel the Soul Heart King's sincerity. His soul moved, and the jade tablet immediately turned into a stream of light, entering his soul. A vast flow of information rushed into his soul, and Lin Moyu accepted it all. After a quick look, Lin Moyu finally understood the structure of the soul void. Most of what Little Python had said wasn't wrong, but Little Python only knew the surface, not as in-depth as the Soul Heart King. The partial information given by the Soul Heart King already pointed to the essence of the soul void. First was the composition of the great soul domains and small soul domains. The soul void was their name for it. In the mouths of the emperors, the soul void was called the void realm. There were 9 great innate origin void treasures in the void realm. These 9 great innate origin void treasures divided the void realm into 9 parts, called the 9 great soul domains. The core of each great soul domain was an innate origin void treasure. And those who controlled the innate origin void treasures were the 9 emperors. Below the 9 great soul domains were countless small soul domains. Each small soul domain had an innate void treasure. The colorful light treasure mountain owned by the Soul Heart King was one of them. Small soul domains were divided with innate void treasures as the center. Those with stronger innate void treasures had larger small soul domains, while those with weaker ones had smaller domains. In this information, the Soul Heart King also listed the void treasures of several nearby kings. The giant-faced Lion King owned a large basin that nurtured void fire, which could burn people's souls. The Grass Soul King owned a soul-devouring tree that could forcibly devour souls, a great killing weapon for void beasts. After reading this, Lin Moyu couldn't help but say, "So, the innate origin void treasure of the Golden Furnace Emperor is that Golden Furnace Island." The Soul Heart King said, "That's right. I remember, a long time ago, when the previous Golden Furnace Emperor transcended, the Golden Furnace Island emitted spiritual light that covered the entire Great Soul Domain. Countless void beasts tried to seize this treasure. After a fierce struggle, one beast emerged victorious, occupied the Golden Furnace Island, and finally became the Golden Furnace Emperor." Lin Moyu asked curiously, "Didn't you go to compete for it at that time?" The Soul Heart King shook his head. "I didn't want to go. This competition was meaningless. If one can't transcend, what's the difference between being the king of a small soul domain or the emperor of a great soul domain in the void realm? Whether it's me or the emperor, our dream is to transcend. Since that's the case, why should I compete? Put yourself in my shoes, Lin friend. If you were me and found a suitable world, would you tell others?" Lin Moyu understood and couldn't help but smile. "You're right. With different goals, there's naturally no need to compete." The Soul Heart King said, "Exactly. Lin friend and I truly hit it off." Lin Moyu said, "Soul Heart friend has already shown enough sincerity. Now can you tell me the approximate location of that world? I can promise Soul Heart friend that I will certainly try my best to find it and not let you down." Taking someone's favor and returning the kindness, Lin Moyu would naturally do what he promised the Soul Heart King within his capabilities. Of course, if it was beyond his abilities, Lin Moyu wouldn't force himself. The Soul Heart King said, "That world is near the Golden Furnace Island, in a small soul domain called Dragon Lake." Lin Moyu asked curiously, "Dragon Lake small soul domain? Doesn't the discernment beast live there?" The Soul Heart King nodded. "Elder Discernment lives near the Golden Furnace Island, close to the Dragon Lake small soul domain, separated by a vacuum zone. Is Lin friend going to find Elder Discernment?" Lin Moyu said, "There are some things I want to ask it about. I just don't know if it's easy to talk to." The Soul Heart King said, "It's hard to say. Elder Discernment's temperament is a bit strange, sometimes good, sometimes bad. When it's not in a good mood to talk, it dares to scold even the Golden Furnace Emperor to his face, and the Golden Furnace Emperor can only endure it." Lin Moyu became interested. Wasn't it said that he was protected by the Golden Furnace Emperor? The Soul Heart King shook his head. To be precise, the Golden Furnace Emperor was raised by Elder Discernment when he was just born. If Elder Discernment hadn't protected him, the Golden Furnace Emperor would have died early. They are like father and son. So it was like this. Lin Moyu glanced at Little Python inconspicuously, who was shrinking its head and saying nothing. Rumors can only be rumors and shouldn't be taken as truth. Lin Moyu asked, "When does Soul Heart friend plan to go?" The Soul Heart King said, "This matter can't be rushed. Currently, the Golden Furnace Island and several nearby soul domains are in a closed state. No one can enter." Lin Moyu became more curious. Did something happen? The Soul Heart King said, "The 9 innate origin void treasures resonate with each other periodically. During the resonance, their powers intertwine, and the entire void realm undergoes some changes. This resonance just happened recently and is estimated to continue for some time. If Lin Friend has nothing to do, you can play around in the void realm, hunt void beasts, and strengthen yourself. If Lin Friend has matters to attend to, you can also return first. I'll give you a fragment of the treasure mountain. When the resonance of the innate origin void treasures ends, I'll inform Lin Friend. Then Lin Friend can enter the void realm again and go with me. At that time, if Lin Friend wants to find elder discernment, I can also lead the way. However, Lin Friend should best prepare some things. They might be useful then. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3638, 3638. Chapter 3638. The white-robed elder also has a part. After comfortably drinking the Tao Void tea, Lin Moyu made arrangements with the Soul Heart King before saying goodbye and leaving. Little Python asked softly, "Master, where are we going now?" Lin Moyu cast out a line of fire. "Follow this fire line. We've been out for a long time, it's time to go back." The fire line pointed directly to where his soul world was located. After drinking the Tao Void tea, Lin Moyu's sense of his soul world had deepened, allowing him to easily find its direction. Little Python followed the fire line, leaving the Soul Heart King's small soul domain and entering the vacuum zone of the void realm. The fire line changed directions, constantly avoiding various dangers. At the same time, Lin Moyu took out the ice jade cushion. If any danger suddenly erupted, he could use the ice jade cushion to freeze it. The ice jade cushion could freeze any kind of danger, as if there was nothing in heaven and earth it couldn't freeze. Lin Moyu was also somewhat puzzled. If one said the power of the ice jade cushion came from the water great Tao, the water great Tao had no effect in the soul void. Moreover, even if the water great Tao was effective, it wouldn't necessarily be able to deal with intangible existences. But the ice jade cushion could. Lin Moyu couldn't understand the source of its power. It was a very strange treasure. But thinking that this thing was given by the green-robed elder, everything seemed to make sense again. The green-robed elder himself was unreasonable. His existence had already broken the rules, or rather, the green-robed elder was the rule itself. So it seemed understandable that the things he gave out were a bit strange. Fortunately, the return journey was peaceful, and they safely returned to the giant-faced Lion King's small soul domain. Only at this moment did Little Python truly breathe a sigh of relief. "We're finally back." Lin Moyu smiled and said, "Why were you so afraid?" Little Python said, "Master, you might not have felt it, but I was really afraid the Soul Heart King would erase my intelligence and turn me into his subordinate, just like that giant whale." Lin Moyu didn't speak, perhaps because he needed something from him. The Soul Heart King had been so polite to him. Little Python asked again, "Master, do you believe what the Soul Heart King said?" Lin Moyu said, "Half and half. We can't fully believe it, but we can't disbelieve it either. In the information he gave, 90% of it is probably correct. He had no need to deceive me on this point. As for the help he wants from me, it's probably not that simple. That world is real, he should have obtained information about that world through his own methods. But the complexity of a world is definitely not as simple as imagined. There might be many internal problems. It's good not to go now. When my strength is greater, I'll have more confidence." As they got closer to the world of the origin continent, Lin Moyu sensed that the formation he had set up had been destroyed. But it didn't matter. He had secretly hidden several skeleton god generals in the formation. These skeleton god generals had watched from afar and recorded the situation of various void beasts fighting for the soul refining furnace. Now that Lin Moyu had returned, he learned everything that had happened at that time. His setup had indeed worked. The void beasts were all confused, rushed into the formation, and then started fighting each other. Among the void beasts, some were as intelligent as Little Python, but many lacked intelligence. Most void beasts weren't very intelligent, and these void beasts often fought recklessly. At first, they were fighting for the soul refining furnace, but later the nature of the fight changed, becoming fighting for the sake of fighting. Even when the formation was shattered, they still showed no sign of stopping. These void beasts died or were injured until the giant-faced Lion King arrived. As the master of this small soul domain, the giant-faced Lion King was incredibly powerful. He killed most of the void beasts sent by the Soul Heart King and the Grass Soul King. Afterwards, the Grass Soul King and the giant-faced Lion King fought each other. In the end, they were evenly matched and it ended in a draw. The unfortunate ones were those void beasts. More than half died or were injured, and in the end, they gained nothing. Unfortunately, the skeleton god general's vision couldn't see too clearly, they could only see the general situation. Lin Moyu thought that the giant-faced Lion King's face must have been extremely unpleasant at that time. Previously, when helping Long Shang, the giant-faced Lion King's face was already extremely unpleasant. This time it probably wasn't any better. The giant-faced Lion King had most likely already guessed that he had been schemed against, but he couldn't find out who had schemed against him. Even if he wanted to vent his anger, he had nowhere to do so. Passing through the world barrier, Lin Moyu returned to the area reflected by the origin continent. The great Tao powers became stable and orderly. Compared to the chaotic and disorderly void realm, this feeling was much more comfortable. He took out the fragment given by the Soul Heart King and handed it to the Legion commander for safekeeping. Then he had the Legion commander stay in the void realm, maintaining a certain distance from his soul world. He was still wary of the Soul Heart King. One must be cautious of others, and Lin Moyu had always been careful. The origin continent was very large, but the area it reflected wasn't large. Little Python hadn't flown for long before returning to where Lin Moyu's soul world was located. Little Python said, "Master, is this your soul world?" Lin Moyu nodded. "See those tree branches outside? You rest on them. Wherever the soul world goes, you go. If there are external enemies invading, you deal with them." As he spoke, Lin Moyu threw out 100 soul crystals to it. "Eat slowly." Little Python excitedly called out, "Thank you, Master. Thank you, Master." Lin Moyu returned to his soul world and made contact with the human emperor. He learned that 50 years had passed since he left, and also learned about recent events. In the void realm, time was incalculable. He couldn't feel the passage of time at all, but didn't expect so much time had passed. In his soul world, Lin Moyu sat quietly with closed eyes. The Yellow Springs Dao sect, truly lingering spirits. The Hell Alliance seems quite united too. I wonder if they'll settle down after this. I didn't expect my elder sister to come and protect me, and even less expected that the ancestral water essence could have such an effect. Killing a Dao Lord with one sword, only his elder sister could do such a thing. It also fit her personality. As for how she obtained the ancestral water essence, Lin Moyu wasn't surprised. Now everything had been connected. Back then, it was Lin Mohan who told him to take a good look at the other shore when stepping onto it. As a result, he saw that lake, that gourd, and that white-robed elder. He even said something about fate and gave him a large amount of ancestral water and a drop of ancestral water essence. The ancestral water played an amazing role in the subsequent battles. But the function of the ancestral water essence had never been understood. The ancestral water essence wasn't unique to him. In the origin continent, several Holy Land sects and the royal families of the beast race had also obtained ancestral water essence. This gave him the misconception that the ancestral water essence wasn't actually that precious. Moreover, those people didn't know the use of the ancestral water essence. They only knew it was extraordinary and had great use. This time, Lin Mohan's use of the ancestral water essence was like giving the world a demonstration of how to use this thing. Now it's interesting. Each royal family has ancestral water essence in their hands, which means they have a terrifying trump card. If used well, this trump card is enough to kill a Dao Lord. In this way, those guys from the outer sky Great Dao will probably be more wary and not dare to do anything to the origin continent. However, Lin Moyu saw in this a calculation spanning countless years. It seemed that behind the origin continent, that white-robed elder also had a part. This world is really complex. What exactly are they doing? Such a complex arrangement, what purpose is hidden behind it? Lin Moyu really couldn't figure it out, and didn't need to think about it. He took out the soul crystals he had obtained this time and began to refine and absorb them. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3639, 3639. Chapter 3639, Advancement, Evolution. A large number of soul crystals were refined. The Soul Heart King had helped, luring many void beasts to fly into the fire like moths, essentially giving Lin Moyu a big gift. Lin Moyu's aura rose steadily, quickly reaching the late stage of 7th grade soul, then continuing to advance without stopping. Boom! The soul world shook violently. Lin Moyu's soul radiated colorful light, and 6 great Daos rumbled simultaneously as Lin Moyu entered the 6th grade soul. The 6th grade soul was considerably stronger than the 7th grade soul. The feeling was similar to when a Dao Venerable advanced from the 6th level to the 7th level. The 7th level could be called an ancestor, but the 6th level could not. The 6 great Daos simultaneously poured out great Dao power, nourishing Lin Moyu's soul. Only half of the soul crystals had been refined, so he could push for another breakthrough. After entering the 6th grade soul, Lin Moyu's power continued to rise, making progress with every breath. On the origin continent, Lin Moyu had been sitting there for exactly 50 years without moving once. Since the Yellow Springs Dao sect's large-scale attack last time, which resulted in heavy losses including their Dao Lord, no one had dared to challenge Lin Moyu again. Moreover, because the ancestral water essence had shown amazing effects, everyone became wary of the origin continent. What scared people the most was that the person who used the ancestral water essence had never shown themselves. This kind of existence was like a knife hidden in the dark, intimidating everyone. In the outer sky Great Dao, many people were still gathered. After several decades, the second batch of forces from various factions was about to enter. At this time, the Great Dao power on the origin continent was changing, and it would soon allow 8th grade souls to enter. Many Great Dao realm experts surrounded the origin continent, chatting and drinking tea. Those who were waiting could enter the origin continent. Although the Yellow Springs Dao sect was defeated last time and even their Dao Lord fell, the Hell Alliance hasn't given up. They will definitely find ways to kill Lin Moyu. The Yellow Springs Dao Lord may not have really fallen. It's said that the leader of the Hell Alliance is trying to find ways to revive the Yellow Springs Dao Lord. Dao Lords entrust their true spirits to the Great Dao, so it's indeed not easy for them to fall. But reviving them isn't easy either. Have you heard the rumor that Lin Moyu might be the reincarnation of the Lord of Hell? We can't spread such rumors carelessly. The leader of the Hell Alliance has always claimed to be the heir of the Lord of Hell. If he hears this, he definitely won't let Lin Moyu off. Do you think he doesn't know? Why does he want to revive the Yellow Springs Dao Lord? Don't you understand the implications? Look, Lin Moyu's aura. A group of people immediately turned their gaze downward. Lin Moyu's aura was changing. Since the great changes in heaven and earth occurred, Lin Moyu had forcefully entered the Great Dao realm and continued to rise, but there had been no movement since then. Because of the protection of Great Dao power, Lin Moyu's realm couldn't be clearly seen from the outer sky Great Dao. Later, some people entered the origin continent and used some treasures to see clearly that Lin Moyu's realm was 7th grade soul. Entering the Great Dao realm directly at the 7th grade soul was already a miracle, at least unprecedented in history. The cultivation of the Great Dao realm was extremely slow. It was difficult to advance even one level in thousands or tens of thousands of years. Some people didn't move an inch even after 100,000 years. But Lin Moyu had changed again in just a few decades, naturally attracting others' attention. Lin Moyu's aura was growing stronger, and Great Dao power was converging towards him. Although his realm still couldn't be seen clearly through the Great Dao, everyone knew that Lin Moyu had become stronger. How did he become stronger again in just a few decades? Indeed, how does he cultivate? Even the previous children of the world didn't seem to be this fast. He was at 7th grade soul before. Could he be reaching 6th grade soul this time? Don't talk nonsense. It's only been a few years. It would be very good to break through one small realm, let alone a large realm. Does anyone have disciples in the origin continent who can find a way to check? The origin continent became extremely lively. Many Great Dao realm experts were eagerly waiting to know Lin Moyu's realm. Even at the Great Dao realm, their curious nature hadn't changed. Soon, news came confirming that Lin Moyu had indeed entered the 6th grade soul. This news stunned all the Great Dao realm experts, completely shattering their understanding of the Great Dao realm. Lin Moyu, in his soul world, had refined all the soul crystals and his realm was firmly at the middle stage of 6th grade innate soul. He didn't feel that his advancement was too fast. On the contrary, he felt it still wasn't enough and perhaps he could find ways to go even faster. Then his attention fell on the great world, which was still evolving. This world belonging to him was evolving rather slowly, seemingly encountering a bottleneck. The predecessor of the Great World was a complete world. Later, the world was destroyed and turned into the Origin Realm, finally entering the Origin Continent and becoming a Boundary Sea world. Since then, this Great World had been imbued with the aura of the Origin Continent. Its great Tao and laws came largely from the Origin Continent. Now its evolution was to eliminate the power of the Origin Continent and use the Yin-Yang origin to re-evolve great Tao laws that completely belonged to itself. This kind of evolution was extremely difficult and the process was very slow. According to Lin Moyu's estimate, it would take at least several tens of thousands of years, or even hundreds of thousands of years, to achieve results. This speed was naturally unacceptable to Lin Moyu. He took out the world crystal and muttered to himself, "Hope this works." Although the world crystal didn't contain great Tao power or various laws, it contained the most fundamental substance of world evolution. This substance could accelerate the speed of world evolution. Lin Moyu didn't know what this substance was, but he could sense its existence. It existed in the Origin Realm, in the world crystal, and also in the Great World. He still had quite a few Origin Realms, but these Origin Realms hadn't been cultivated and were too weak. Even if refined into world crystals, they wouldn't be of much help to the Great World, so he had never used them. As for throwing them into the Boundary Sea for the Boundary Sea World competition, Lin Moyu had even less interest in that. He could only keep them for now and decide later. Controlling the origin of the Great World, he began to refine the world crystal. The evolving Great World shook violently. The light of the Yin-Yang origin became extremely brilliant. The Yin-Yang origin, which originally illuminated the entire soul world, now had most of its light absorbed by the Great World. Faint lights lit up everywhere in the Great World. Star after star was born, and the range of the world was also expanding rapidly. All the power belonging to the Origin Continent was expelled, followed by the generation of brand new powers. Lin Moyu saw the embryonic forms of great Taos, not laws, but great Taos. With the help of the world crystal, the Great World finally entered the stage of evolving great Taos. In this process, the cultivators in the Great World received baptism. Their powers underwent transformation and change, severing ties with the Origin Continent and becoming powers unique to the Great World. The Great World, now with great Taos, began to grow stronger, and its capacity limit greatly increased. Lin Moyu felt that even those below Tao Lords could enter the Great World. In a few more years, after the Great World evolved further, it might even be able to give birth to Tao Lords. Should I bring Yudao City back to the Great World? Lin Moyu had this thought. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3640, 3640. Chapter 3640. Lin Moyu's world structure. When this thought arose, Lin Moyu vaguely felt something was amiss. At his level, his connection with heaven and earth was already extremely close. Combined with his highly sensitive soul, if he had any improper thoughts, he would sense it. He realized that this idea of his was not correct, and after careful consideration, he found the problem. Yudao City had been in the Origin Continent for quite some time. Now, besides the people from the Great World living in Yudao City, there were also countless native inhabitants of the Origin Continent. They lived together, and in recent years, some had even married and had children. As such, their destinies had become completely intertwined, and it was impossible to distinguish between them. If he were to bring Yudao City back to the Great World, it would be like carving out a piece of flesh from the Origin Continent. Perhaps it would only be a minor injury to the Origin Continent, but the Destiny Great Tao would certainly not be pleased and would attribute this karmic debt to him. Moreover, people like Tao Venerable Hao, Little Mei, and Little Yu had cultivated and comprehended the Tao of the Origin Continent. If they were to return to the Great World now, they would have to readapt. For whatever reason, Yudao City was not suitable to return to the Great World. Especially when the Great World was fully formed and had its own independent Tao system, there might be a barrier between the world and the Origin Continent. The world barrier would naturally appear, making it difficult for the two worlds to interact. At that time, Yudao City and the Great World might be completely separated. People from the Great World would no longer be able to come out, and those in Yudao City would find it difficult to return. As for the human emperor, Lin Moyu did have a solution. As the master of the Great World, he could establish a separate channel for the human emperor, which wouldn't have too much impact. He could also establish a channel for Yudao City, but this channel wouldn't be very stable, and connecting the two worlds would be quite difficult. The key issue was that the great Daos of the two worlds might not be compatible and could potentially conflict. Doing it this way is not a long-term solution. I need to find a once and for all method. What should I do? Yudao City and the Great World, neither could be abandoned. Lin Moyu had an idea: if I could become the master of the origin continent, this problem would be solved. Becoming the master of the origin continent was not impossible. The Lord of Hell had done it before. At his level, making such a choice indicated that there was a path. Since there was a path, it seemed possible for him to become the master of the origin continent. However, becoming the master of an independent world was extremely difficult. It required controlling the two great origins of the sun and moon. The sun and moon origins of the origin continent were not as weak as those of a newborn world. They were too strong, and controlling them would be extremely difficult. Even origin Dao lords couldn't do it. Lin Moyu began to understand the Lord of Hell. The Lord of Hell wanted to control the sun and moon origins through the sun ancestral dragon and moon ancestral dragon. It was a good idea, but unfortunately, he failed. However, for himself, Lin Moyu thought of a solution: perhaps I don't need to become the world's master at all. The origin continent doesn't belong to me, and I don't need to bear its karmic burden. What I want is transcendence, to transcend this world. Since it's transcendence, why drag it along? I have my own world. Once my world is fully evolved, I'll be its master. Why should I bear the burden of another world? The sun and moon origins. I'll leave them to that guy. Lin Moyu thought of Antares. Antares was the sun ancestral dragon, inherently possessing the sun origin. Now he had also obtained the moon origin, plus the legendary 11-colored dragon soul crystal. After entering the Yang Dragon Great Dao and going to the Dragon God Tree to absorb its sun origin, step by step, Antares might become the legendary Yin-Yang Divine Dragon. At that time, he would have the chance to become the master of the origin continent. If that day really came, all of his problems would be solved. Having made up his mind, he was determined to push Antares to the throne and make him the master of the origin continent. After absorbing this world crystal, the great world was evolving rapidly. It absorbed a large amount of yin-yang origin, then emitted waves of strange aura. With the world tree as a nexus, the great world established connections with several other evolving worlds. These worlds, formed by world spirits, were still very weak and immature, not even considered world embryos, weaker than even the origin realm. But they were striving to evolve into true worlds. To evolve into real worlds, they still had a long way to go and needed a long time. Fortunately, they came from the world tree and had an inseparable relationship with it. The world tree enveloped the entire great world. Thus, a marvelous connection formed between them. After absorbing vast amounts of yin-yang origin, the great world began to emit some aura, nourishing these not yet formed worlds like nutrients. At this moment, the great world became the supreme leader, while those not yet formed small worlds became its subordinates. Lin Moyu observed this and had an idea. He opened a passage, allowing these small worlds to move to the upper layer of rules, accompanying the great world. The great world moved up a bit more, making room for these small worlds. In this way, the great world occupied the very top of the upper layer of the rule world, and below the great world were numerous world embryos. These world embryos were connected to the great world through the world tree as a nexus. Lin Moyu had a realization in his heart. He realized that his world structure had taken shape. With the great world as the main body and other worlds as auxiliaries, a vast world group was formed. Lin Moyu's gaze swept across. There are still many small worlds within the great world. These small worlds should also become independent and turn into separate worlds. With a thought, the small worlds hidden in the great world broke out of their shells, and he extracted them from the great world. Lin Moyu had once been born and grown up in such small worlds, so he knew the situation in these small worlds. The small worlds depended on the great world. What he was doing now was giving the small worlds a chance for independence. Although they still relied on the great world, they would no longer be bullied by the strong beings in the great world as before. Previously, the powerful beings in the great world might accidentally destroy several small worlds in a single conflict. But now, this wouldn't happen. The size of the independent small worlds was between that of the great world and those not yet formed embryonic worlds. Lin Moyu thought of some classics from his previous life. He had an idea and spoke with heaven-shaking words. From now on, the great world shall be renamed the Great Thousand World. His voice spread throughout the entire great world, and all beings in the great world heard his words. He was the master of the great world, and his words were heavenly decree. Even snakes, birds, fish, and insects could understand. From then on, the great world was renamed the Great Thousand World. Then Lin Moyu looked at those small worlds that had just separated from the great world and again issued a heavenly decree: from now on, you shall be named the Middle Thousand Worlds. Finally, he looked at the lower-level embryonic worlds, and you shall be named the Small Thousand Worlds. With just a few sentences, he established the structure of the entire world. The Great Thousand World above, the Middle Thousand Worlds below it, and the Small Thousand Worlds at the bottom. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a